Thank you so much, Nash. Hello, we are back into the brand new week, and that means a brand new series. My friend Pond, hello. It's been quite a while.
Man, it's been what, 10 minutes that yeah, I mean, what a time. I mean, this is a complete energy shift. I'm coming over from an analyst desk talking about the game, kind of breaking down how they all played and coming to hear Chief. Let's get this rolling, ladies and gentlemen. It's the time to be had. Two very good teams, 3-3 Wichita Wolves and Chief. Always great to see you up here, man.
I think today's cast is going to be incredibly high energy, just like both of our rosters. And we're talking about teams that people are sleeping on. But I know one of these rosters has a very soft place in your heart.
Man, 303. I always take the pick for 303. I think for today's match, I picked the tie. Sorry, 303. I know I've gone away from my regular course of picking. Looks like we have the map bands down here if you want to break those down, Chief. But I'm gonna be picking a tie, but I still got 303 in there, guys. Don't worry, I'm watching.
So Wichita Wolves, it's no secret that they've been trialing and substituting players in over the past 6 weeks, and they have finally determined who they want to be on their rosters. Anarchy and Iski, that is going to be the permanent members. And they had their showing last week, and they've been playing in a few different leagues. One of those leagues they went to Kafe on, and they didn't have the performance I would have expected of Wichita Wolves. Wichita Wolves is a team that plays as a pack. They are one cohesive unit, and that was the first time in Wolves history that I've seen 5 individual players. So maybe they've identified their problems and are able to work them out. They've also had their coach Slapex leave recently, so it's now just Cranberry doing both head coach duties as well as the analyst duties. So maybe they're suffering from that department because Cranberry is a genius, but he can only be doing so many different things at once.
Yeah, and the coach can really only do as much as they have. I don't know what they have in terms of analysts, but their core three have
There's
always been.
Cranberry.
It's just Cranberry. That that leaves a lot up for them. It's gonna coming to maps like Cafe and Clubhouse. I mean, you're gonna have to be counter stratting as much as you can. We have seen 303 play here. 303 has been fairly streaky with the way they've been playing. I think that when their attacks are on, 303 are a team to really they're a team to be reckoned with. But when their attacks aren't hitting and they are getting completely countered, I think strong roam games are very prominent against them. They can be quickly shut out. But Wichita Wolves is just something I want to talk about. The storyline between them. I mean, we got Tyrant Devil and Faded as those core three that have been there since season 4, and they've all shined. But finding those two players that can fit in that position, fit in. I know we have Devil playing Devil and Faded on that kind of hard support on attack, or that hard breach role, and Anarchy or Tyrant, my apologies, as the Kaid. And I I'm sorry, I'm messing up my words. I'm going from analyst to casting.
No.
Tyrant, Faded, and Devil have been that core three, but they have not had the success that they have wanted picking up key players. I mean, looking at their seasonal history, those 2 losses were 2 times that they had picked up new players that have not fit in. And I think I've seen Iski and Anarchy play. I've seen them play in other leagues, and I think that this is the roster that they need to find. But if they can get that cohesiveness and not have, as you'd said before, that 5-man play, they'll be perfect.
Sorry, I had to let that snicker out through. You're talking about their roles, but clearly you looked over what their roles actually are. It's the big boss and final boss, and that's according to Devil. So Devil is the final boss. Faded is the big boss. So I hate to say it, my friend, but you're incorrect with their role selection. Now, something that I was going to highlight before we even switched that was the fact that, well, Wichita Wolves prides themselves on being a team of flex players. There truly aren't any air quotes hard support players because everybody is capable of playing that supporting role. And you have Anarchy, a player who's known for his mechanical brilliance as an entry fragger, but he's also been support player, and that's a perfect position to have him on the team, playing any type of role available.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old G2. But I mean, looking over here at 303, Sovereign has been a pretty good pickup for them. And I gotta say, their whole team, Krill has been a player I've been watching since day one. I mean, Krill's got a special place in my heart, especially as that ace one my main. That's typically how I play the game. Minus their one forfeit, I mean, they've really started to look alive. It's gonna really matter if Silver can kind of pick it up this time around. But on the Wichita Wolves situation, it reminds me so much of the G2 roster, the old Penta roster, is a whole team of flexes and just kind of moving around, minus the Goga, whole team moving around and just kind of playing like monkeys, but also playing cohesively as a team.
And you can see that 303 has gone to Kafe once, and they ended up losing it, but losing it in overtime, so they are still able to confirm points. And on the side of Clubhouse, they've gone there twice and have won it twice. So just looking at the map pool alone, I think 303 has won the map pick phase. So Wichita Wolves might be on the back foot, and we've thought that Wichita Wolves is invulnerable. They can't be knocked down, but they have been knocked down recently. And is it 303's turn to swing for the fences?
I think it could be 303's turn to swing for the fences, but I also think that Wichita Wolves had lost Kafe playing with their two other subs. Now that they have Iski playing, now that they have Anarchy playing, now that they have that solid team, I think Devil and Tyrant are two very talented Kafe players. I mean, watching them, they had carried their team through there, especially not having the cohesiveness that they had wanted with their roster. I think moving into Clubhouse, having that more cohesive team, if they can play as that 5-man, I think that Wichita Wolves is a incredibly talented Kafe pick. That's going to be the real slugger match. I think that 303 can take it alive on Clubhouse, though.
I mean, Wichita Wolves is still an unknown entity, and they will be for the next few weeks, simply because we have to determine how the two new players are actually going to be functioning on the team. We know that Iski and Anarchy are great players, but you can be the world's best player and not synergize well with your mates, which means you as a unit won't be successful. So we're gonna have to kind of give them that, well, freedom to work on through. You can see Anarchy does have statistics, and he is positive as well as his teammates. So we're gonna have to see if they're able to hone in on that as a unit, though.
Yeah, that is something that I am a big proponent of in T3 Siege, is that we see a lot of teams that play as these individual gunner type teams, and I think that the scene has really been evolving to be less of a gun skill, gun it out, maybe have these setups loosely followed and then just completely rely on gun skill halfway through. We see teams sometimes do that. In Control Nation was doing that a few of the rounds that we just saw in Kafe. But when you see teams play as a cohesive unit, I think that late season 4 Emergence is a team that comes to mind. The entirety of season 4 Wichita Wolves come to mind. When they had that core roster and they played as that unit, absolutely unstoppable. And I think that Wichita Wolves could easily be in the contest for going to finals and even winning finals if they can find that synergy.
And looking at team statistics, we can see that Devil has 10 plants and Shiver has 9 plants. So I'm guessing we're going to see both of these teams attempting to play the objective. A lot of teams get carried up in Utility Consumption Simulator or just trying to click heads, but they forget there's another aspect of the game. You can win a round by putting the bomb down and then forcing those defenders to turn basically into attackers. So that might be one of the big macro strategies for the day, whoever is able to play the objective the most. And talking about predictions, I thought I was macro brained calling that tie today. And Control Nation is a phenomenal team. Same thing with Visionary. And when it was 6-2, I was like, oh, dude, I'm going to be genius with that tie pick. But sometimes it just doesn't go out that way. And everybody seems to think that it is going to be a Wichita season, as they have a ton of votes over the next 3 days.
Yeah, I gotta send out my apologies to Wichita Wolves right now. I don't think I picked you guys for a single game. I could not tell you why. I think I had Phantom Legion as them coming in and them coming in hot. I think that they could really take that match. The Emergence Wichita Wolves game. I'm a big Emergence guy. I really got to give it to them, and I think I gave them a tie for this match. So we'll see if my macro brain can come in, but. I just noticed it now. In Control Nation had just about every single person picking them except you there, Chief.
I mean, In Control Nation is a phenomenal roster, and I just thought we had two great teams going at each other, and the only way of winning was through a tie. Each team would take their own map pick, and it definitely looked like it was going to be that case. So I love INC, and I know that they weren't too happy with me voting against them, but sometimes you just have to go off statistics, and that's, well, the basis of all of this, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and stats are what stats are, and Visionary being a very talented top team, but also in Control Nation being the absolute like I don't want to say like the absolute monkeys they are, but they just have such a gun skill heavy team. I think Lycus Empire is one of the only other teams that can really compete with them in the entire tournament. Visionary still being a powerful team. I still always have to give it in control. I do have the sole tie for this game, so I'm feeling pretty confident after the map pick phase that this can be a tie. I think that 303 is going to end up taking Clubhouse, but I really do think that Wichita Wolves can come alive and take Cafe.
Now, Thomas, we know that every time I say there's a tie, somebody has technology problems. We did 3 ties. 2 of those ties have been 4v5 games, and this one today was a substitute playing. So maybe you're going to be in the exact same boat as me, where one of these unfortunate 10 men or women in this lobby are just going to have a problem with their computer, but you probably don't have the bad luck I do.
You know, Chief, the more I think about it, every tie game that you have had, something has gone just
Yeah.
drastically wrong. We've had that 4v5, we've
Yeah.
had subs coming in here, and
Yeah.
just if I'm a team and I see that it's a tie, I think that this is the SCS version of the Caliber Jacob curse. It is your version of the Caliber Jacob curse. If a team is calling tie, if I was both teams, I would just say, nah, you gotta change your prediction. That's gotta go. Pick one way or the other. Can't sit in the middle.
Now, I will say I've been right with all my ties beforehand, except for today. But yeah, every time I vote tie, something terrible happens. And well, look at these operator picks. Oh my lord. 93% for Zofia, 87% for Ash. Utility consumption simulator absolutely being confirmed. And on the other side of the coin, Jaeger with nearly 100% pick rate. I mean, that again screams it's all about utility consumption simulator. And with the nerf going to Jaeger tomorrow, because the new season does roll out sometime tomorrow, I think it's about 10 PST, so be prepared for that. Make sure your games are updated if you're playing on Tuesday. We might see a change in the meta. Now, Jaeger is still going to be a component of no matter what meta we're in, but he might not be an important or that much of a necessary pick where he's 100% pick rate or nearly that. He might be coming down to something closer to 80, which I'm happy with.
Yeah, I think Jaeger is always going to be a pick. I know we were talking with Defiance, and Defiance was kind of talking a little bit about strategy around him. And I think the way Jaeger is played is going to change, but I don't think you'll ever see the 416 not be played strong in competitive siege. Something I do want to point out though, looking at these legal rounds, Goyo having 666 legal rounds. I think that Goyo is honestly the demon he is not going to be banned out as much with the change of meta. And I'm honestly really excited to analyze the games coming up. As you see there, actually in the bottom right screen, the 666 pick. I'm actually excited to see how this change of meta actually shifts the defenders, because I see the attackers getting maybe a bit more creative with their picks. But on defense, I loved the intel denial meta, and seeing a lot of like a little bit more cheeky plays, a lot more roaming, and a lot more like taking guns to keeping attack on their toes rather than forcing back into the most boring 20-second utility dump. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. I don't think I could say that enough.
Now, Wamai has what looks like a very low pick rate until you actually confirm his ban rate or you look at his ban rate. And just doing some quick mental math, that's greater than 100%, right? So apparently he's hated so much or loved so much that he's played more than 100% of the time. So gotta love to see that. And that just screams to utility consumption simulator. He has broken all laws of physics and time. He is literally the greatest operator to have ever touched this game. All you need to know is what my pancakes are it.
I think that Wamai is being picked in some people's nightmares as they try and get that one little cheeky nade through, and it just goes right back at them. I Yeah, Wamai is just he's played out every single map. I think the way he's fit in the meta is just I think it's like I think it's just disingenuous to what the game should be. I don't think you should rely on having flash bangs be this small little point of like we can clear out a disc or a little bit of a thing so
Yeah.
that we can get a frag grenade. I like the days when flash grenades were for flashing players, and then you get to see these nice little crackhead moves around the corner and get the guy full blind. Like, I miss those days. I'm not gonna lie, Chief.
But I think that's what makes Siege is the fact that you have to use flashbangs. It's the opportunity cost of those flashbangs. This isn't Call of Duty where you bring, your C4 and a set of flashbangs. You whip your flashbangs, you throw your C4 down range, you go pick up your scavenger pack, and you rinse and repeat. But now you actually have the opportunity cost of that utility. If you want to use that utility as well killing people, then that means those will my pancakes will persist throughout the rounds. So that's what separates Siege from most games.
I really agree with that analysis. Actually, it kind of brings up an interesting point in like dynamic of like bringing other utility other than flashbangs to kind of mix up the game, gives it its own special spice, and that's what I think a lot of people like about Siege. But nevertheless, we actually are going to be going into our map, and we're going to be starting with the map pick phase. And we just saw the statistics. Thatcher's coming off, and I don't think there's a surprise there, Chief.
Oh, he's instantaneously banned, especially on this map. You want to play in pixel spawn, and there's one operator that just basically destroys and dismantles your entire setup. It is Thatcher. He throws one EMP on the roof. All of your my pancakes and ADSs turn off, and then a grenade goes down range and blows you up. It's something that forces you to change your entire strategy, and that's why he's usually removed. Now, Buck getting banned is a great operator in participating in removing ceilings and floors, particularly in match number 1, which was also on this map. We actually saw a Finka being played for her shotgun to utilize it as well, shutting down the players sitting in cocktail. Buck is a great operator at doing that, and also he can be versatile on that first floor execution as well.
Yeah, and I think that finger play from the last game was something to be seen. But I think the Buck pick coming out. This is the second time we've seen a Buck ban coming on Cafe tonight, and I think that this is a direct ban against Wichita Wolves because a lot of their strategies revolve around getting that top floor control with Buck. We don't see a whole lot of teams doing that. A lot of teams opt to go for the sledge, but the Wichita Wolves revolve so many of their strategies around that Buck that I think that I honestly think that 303. I think that that is a really smart ban. Yeah, you could have gotten rid of the Ace, maybe gotten rid of a Montang or a Maverick, but I think that that pick right there, I think it's a direct counter, and I think it's gonna keep Wichita Wolves maybe a little bit on their toes.
And it's also going to be removing a set of flashbangs, which is going to help the defenders hold pixel. As you can see, they have 3 deployable shields currently being held, assuming that Smoke is actually going to bring out his deployable shield like most teams do. So it's going to force the attackers to send the majority of the utility down range and piece apart every single one of those mini games. And that's what separates good teams from great teams. The teams that are able to take control of the mini games and repeat those steps basically on rapid fire like a Gatling gun are going to be the teams that are able to constantly succeed in their rounds. Something that's already starting to concern me is the fact that Devil is putting a mute jammer over in shops. We've seen a lot of rosters here in Storm Competitive Series basically relegate one sad soul to holding shops till he dies. He wastes the majority of the drone intel and can kill attackers if they haven't done their true homework. So we're going to have to watch out for that spot.
Oh man, I would hate to be sitting there in scrims and being like, all right, who wants to play shop? Because that is really just a suicide mission. Your whole goal is to just deny intel and die. I mean, it's really denying the intel, hopefully getting a pick, and dying. I mean, that I personally I find myself playing in that position. A lot of teams have to play one of the more confident gunners because it is a highly stressful situation because you have to be able to kind of make those split second decisions of do I go for the drone? Is there somebody going to drop? And you have to play off a lot of synergy, but I don't think they actually are going to be playing enemy shop. Actually, Deviled Egg's going to be moving his way down there. Devil being the sneaky little one at that. And yeah, it's a position you don't want to play as we are going to be seeing the attackers go for more of a top down clear. We're not going to be seeing any second floor player trying to deny anything, but it looks like I'm going to be totally wrong as Devil's going to be taken out as Ash rotates down. That is a really big pick as that is a C4 off the board. That could come up big in the late round.
One of the most common strategies to force defenders on that second floor, trying to utilize those nitrocells, sitting them vertical, turning the floor into lava. And this has prompted a lot of attacking rosters to instantaneously clear that second floor so they don't have to deal with those nitrocells. And this is going to force majority of defenders to play deeper into trains. And if you're flirting anywhere near that window, well, you could have your head removed from your shoulders. And unfortunately, Devil's hyper aggression is going to cost him his life in the long run.
Hyper aggression indeed, because it's one of those positions that if you are playing close to that window, the attackers have that advantage of droning you out, and you might not necessarily have the time to react because you're focusing so much on the vertical play as the defender that if you aren't playing super smart and you don't know where the attackers are pushing from, they can quickly get you. As Krill is going to take out Anarchy, another big operator to take out in the late round. Now they only really have Faded with those smokes, and Tyrant with the C4 going out, almost shot out. But this late round, if we see 303 able to get this execute down, they won't have to worry about any denials, just winning out the guns. Two very big picks to open up this round.
So far, Wichita Wolves is making a little bit too many mistakes. We've seen them in this position before over the past few weeks. Tyrant with the Nitro Cell. The swing on in from Nomad is going to be purely in vain as she just walks straight into the gun barrel. Things were looking very strong for 303, but all of a sudden they throw it straight to the wind. Their macro strategy begins to crumble. Everybody's dry peeking from the attacking side and they immediately get felled. It is now just the Ashmain stuck in a 1v3, looking in every possible direction, but not looking where the defenders are. Finally, the gun barrels meet. It's going to be Ash just better, but with no time left, defuse and surrender on the other side, the bomb site. It's going to be purely in vain, but the vein almost comes through as the blood starts to spill, but it's nonetheless Wichita Wolves able to take round one.
What a nutty way to end out that round. I mean, I don't even know what the attackers did wrong there. I think that they just solely pushed Pixel. They solely tried to push Bathroom and then just fell right into gunfights. They didn't set up any trades. They didn't set up any crossfires. They just fell right into it. And it's just, I mean, it's just like T-Hunt there for Wichita Wolves. They just have to click off heads, and the little cheeky roam from, or that little cheeky rotate from Faded going all the way out yellow window, all the way down all the way, or white window, all the way down white, all the way up, back up white with the FMG9. I gotta say that I think is something to highlight right there, is just a smoke. I don't know if he had picked his kid out a little bit wrong, but that FMG9, not something typically seen, but absolutely wonderfully played. Magnificent to know that the diffuser's down. Ash doesn't have the diffuser. You don't have to play the kill. You play the life, and that is smart siege and a very wonderful round played by Wichita.
On the side of 303, it looked like they were running through the steps. They knew exactly where to execute from, but they didn't have a good understanding of what their execute was supposed to be. It all stems from that white execute where you see the Nomad just swing on through. That might have just been a misclick of shift. Maybe he wanted to go up to the roof. But given that he was active on the window the whole time and his positioning on the window, I don't think he could have ever rappelled onto the roof. And after that, you can see like the discombobulation rain. You can see the falter of 303 because they were standing still, not necessarily holding angles. So that's a IGL problem. They're going to have to make that adjustment. And now this is round number one. So take a deep breath. They know what to do. They're obviously very strong on the roam clear. And if they're constantly able to do that, they should be able to execute.
You know, Chief, I think we should just call the round right here and then move on to the next game. Hope Wichita take the first one to call it right there. I mean, just helping you out with your predictions. Nevertheless, yeah, it definitely did look like 303. They were going hard. They got the momentum they needed. They got the control. They took the entirety of piano. They had shop. They had white, and then I think as soon as the Nomad's position got kind of taken out, that was it. I think that at that point they didn't really know how to make that mid-round adjustment, and that's what a lot of teams struggle with. And as soon as that came in, 303 faltered, Wichita Wolves came up big, and that really won them around.
You know, we're talking about IGLs a lot lately. And remember, IGL stands for in-game leader, and it's that last part of that phrase, the leadership role. You call more than strategies. You actively lead your team. Now, Anarchy is going to be trying to sneak his way up the red stairs, shooting away the Nomad, holding mouse one. He spots the backpack, but unable to land the shots. This is going to alert everybody at 303 that their position has been compromised, that they can no longer be looking down towards the floor. They have to be looking towards their flanks.
Yeah, 303 is really going to be having to look for those flanks, but we're going to be having that fuse come in. I didn't even notice the fuse pick. We were focusing so much on the last round that is an interesting pick, and they're going to be clearing out a lot of that utility. That's going to open up a lot for them in this late round, as they aren't going to be. We get to see the Nomad taking just a little bit of damage, or brought down to about 30 HP, but no real damage has been done here by Wichita Wolves. Each team is kind of reading each other out, and they're trying to set up this execute. But if they don't clear Iski off of VIP, this execute is going to become a lot more challenging, as Faded does go down on site. That is the smoke. That is big in the late round. And I don't know if they necessarily know that they had downed him. As Anarchy goes over to pick him up, it's going to be a matter of, can 303 get the execute down, or are they going to falter, as Faded finally gets the kill confirmed as Nomad pushes in. Silver also with his own kill. And this is going to be an absolute flurry of kills, as Devil and Anarchy are going to have to retake this site. Diffuser is going to be going down as Krill cleans this up. Deviled Eggs, the man who plants himself, is going to have a plant push right against him, as he is going to have this Alda in a half-decent position to try and retake something. Finds one, but doesn't find it in the end, as Wichita Wolves falter their second round.
They were just far too passive. You can see everybody on the side of 303 were prepared for the hot drop. And that should alert everybody on Wichita Wolves that something isn't quite right over in Meat Locker. They should start to move their gun barrels and send their nitro cells down range. Now, we have seen some silent drops where you basically just fall on your stomach and somehow don't break your legs or make that sound. But it just seemed like Wichita Wolves was not prepared for that quick, aggressive take into Java. They had the information, so I'm not sure if that was just a missed call or something on those lines, but we're just seeing a lot of mistakes all off the calling from both rosters now.
Yeah, both rosters not it definitely is a flurry of Wichita Wolves getting maybe a little bit disheveled. As soon as Faded went down, they weren't able to deny the plant the way they'd wanted to. They kind of rotated out of sight, then they were forced to kind of retake it. We are going to be seeing a quick rehost, which I believe that means we're going to be going to a quick break. It looks
Nope.
like the tie curse does not. All right, then it keeps on going. I mean, the tie curse comes up for me this time. I guess ties are kind of cursed in this league. Wouldn't you say there, Chief?
Oh, 100%. Now, we were talking about that Fuse 6 pick into. So they had the ace. They were actually, so they basically showed the Fuse for the longest time. They immediately hit the ace right before they had to confirm their operators, and then they 6-picked into that Fuse. So that shows that they love the AK-12, and they're prepared to bring out abstract strategies that a lot of people tend to not think about. But the Fuse did its job. It destroyed all the on-site utility, it did some damage, and it ended up downing a player in the long run. If you are constantly able to do things like that, basically create chaos and things that Wichita Wolves isn't expecting, that might make them make bad calls like they did at the end of the round, and maybe that's their macro strategy. Maybe that's what 303 needs to do.
Yeah, it was definitely an unexpected pick, but it did bring up kind of an interesting point that Fuse having that hard breach gadget, he switched off the ace onto the Fuse, and I'm really kind of thinking right now, as we're going to be moving to a little bit of a meta shift, that could become a lot more common, because
Yeah.
Fuse getting that extra charge. I mean, Fuse is a semi-powerful operator. I mean, the higher levels of Siege maybe not as much, because C4s can easily take him out, but on maps like Kafe, where you have multiple floors being played and a lot of soft structure vertically, having that hard breach gadget, it isn't as much of a minus to bring a Fuse, and you can have a little bit more of a cheeky lineup. I don't think that they did wrong switching off the ace, because they still had the hard breach gadget. They were still able to open up the freezer wall and that freezer hatch, and that is big. And creating that chaos, I believe that's what got Faded down. And as soon as Faded had gone out, I mean, not having that smoke, absolutely big for 303 and absolutely disheveled Wichita.
I will say sometimes getting the pocket hard breach might be a nerf. Like on Capital, he's an operator that was pretty much relegated to burning ADSs. Well, now you have to bring an additional operator and do so. Maybe that means you have to have a Nomad in your lineup or a Buck instead of a Sledge. But nonetheless, that's going to force the complete another change. But an operator like Fuse, he doesn't really bring much to the table. He has a set of smoke grenades, which is a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal in this current meta. Smoke plant meta has gone away simply because you'd rather bring on 3 bits of utility instead of 2. And I believe that window repel was prompted by that runout because that player was going to have to basically do a 2 front assault. The wide swing would have come out from washroom as well as the wide swing from the runout. So a bad place to be. Obviously, an attempted call was made, and I don't know if you could ever say there's a right decision to be had.
Yeah, and that is the big thing, is that as us as casters, we get to see the match at a top-down approach, and we can kind of say, oh, this was the right play, the wrong play. But in the heat of the moment, I mean, that was the right play for Faded to make. That was the right play for the Nomad to make. But in the end, it didn't really work out the way they had wanted. We are going to be seeing the players back in the lobby, moving on to round 3 after 303 absolutely wonderfully played that round. I mean, I'm liking the kind of creative strategies they're having come up. As long as they're able to call out in the later round, I think that they can find this is what I was saying before. When they're firing on all cylinders on attack, they are a force to be reckoned with.
And I would love to see Fuse actually enter in the meta and be an operator to be a force to be reckoned with. He can destroy a lot of utility if you place it, especially if utility starts to be, bunched up. Now, with the nerf, I guess, if you want to call it, to, well, I guess the catcher operators, that's going to be the Womais of this world, the Jaegers of this world, you won't be able to truly burn an ADS. You'll be able to shut it 2 of its charges down, and then it's just going to be disabled for 10 seconds. So unless you actually destroy it, is it going to be as effective? You can still kill those shields, but I don't know if it's going to be the impact that it could have been.
Yeah, and a way that I can think it is, if you get concurrent fuse charges down, knowing where a majority of the utility is, one fuse can kind of burn some of that utility. The other one can be able to clear it out.
Oh.
Um, we we are going to be seeing 303 leave again. I'm telling you, ties are a curse. I mean, I think that is
303, you good?
you Gucci Homes.
Oh, never vote ties. So we're gonna have to confirm if they still have another rehost. Now, you cannot make substitutions mid-game, but you can do it for map number 2. So the 5 members of 303 Esports that started on Cafe have to finish Cafe if they ought all reconnect, which, judging by these technology issues that we're currently having, it might not be the case. And oh no, some BMing back and forth between other members of different teams. And there he is, 303, back up to equal man count. It was looking rocky at the start of round number 3, thinking that they might go to a 4v5. But as we're highlighting, never call ties, Thomas.
Yeah, I think that that's the last time I'm gonna do that. I don't want to get some heat from the teams. And also, I gotta point out, is it really an SCS match, or an SCS game day if not at least one person mentions Hazmat in the game chat?
Well, I wasn't going to call him out by name, but apparently we're going to be doing that to him today. Honestly, if we're going to be talking about him, he had a phenomenal showing in last week. So maybe we're going to have to find a new person to meme on. And honestly, my go-to meme on is myself. So if you're going to roast anybody in this lobby or in this, cast, I'm always a good choice.
Man, you're putting the target on us now. I'm totally okay with it. As we are going to be moving a little bit more to the round, we are going to be going to, I believe, a reading fireplace defense, and the attackers making some pretty solid progress. I mean, they are going to be down 1, Silver being the hard breach. I don't think will have much of an impact on this bomb site. The hard breach is nice if you want to open up maybe the white walls, or maybe try and get that second floor control, but not as big as Faded is able to take out the flank watch of that Nomad. Very big pick for them, but he's going to be traded out. That's going to be Jaeger, and we are going to see these attackers slowly move on to Cocktail as Anarchy's playing the C3 with that C4. C4 goes out, not able to find anything, and this is going to be big. Utility is going to be cleared. Nope. Utility is going to be caught. And the attackers right now are going to be a little bit desperate. They need to find a pick. They need to win out some of these guns, and not what they want to see, as it's going to be left into a 2v4 as the round is going to be moving on.
It is now just a G8. It is required for this gun to go burr if 303 wants to stay in round number 3. A little bit of pre-fire will confirm the location of Krill, but everybody on the side of Wichita Wolves has now rotated back down to their bomb site. An ill-advised showing of the toes. Anarchy is going to lose the majority of his HP, but still be alive. Shots rain through the floor. Krill is looking in too many directions. He has no idea where these bullets are coming from, and he's just going to have to start to click heads if he wants to be successful. For every time that clock clicks on down, the likelihood of 303 to be successful in round number 3 starts to diminish. He knows he's going to have to go to the second floor. That might be his burial ground as he makes the jump into pillars. It should alert everybody of Wichita Wolves that he's over here, but they seem to be perplexed by his micro positioning, unaware that he's now over in gears. There goes a wide swing for Krill, but he's finally going to be shut on down. Wichita Wolves wins round number 3.
In spectacular fashion too. I think that round was really one up there on Cocktail. I think that them trying to push Anarchy and not setting that up for a trade and allowing Anarchy to swing on them, get the pick untraded out, and to allow him to rotate back down to site alive. I mean, that was the biggest key. Leaving it all onto the G8. I know that the G8 go burn. The G8 is honestly one of the most powerful guns on attack. You can't rely it all onto that one player. You have to play as a cohesive attacking unit, and trades are huge for pushing Cocktail, especially when you're going to be playing down a man. Every life counts, and I think that 303 really did lose it up there on that Cocktail push on Goyo.
So we constantly see the same darn Nitro kill over on the shop side. You basically shoot out like a foot-long gap over here on the train side, and then you send your Nitro on up. If you're your primary or secondary droner and you see that hole made, this is going to prompt your entry to go to the second floor. And if you do not do that, that means that Nitro will be available to the defenders the entire round. Constantly, T3 teams overlook that one small step, and they are dying to it all the time. That is a structural problem within a team. That's on the coach, the IGL, and the support staff to identify that sooner, because far too often that mistake is made.
You know, Chief, you're not supposed to drone this game. It's all about gun skill.
Oh, absolutely right. Click heads. That's the most important thing. And never utilize your utility. 100% correct.
Yeah, it's the absolute way to play this game. No, I think that is something that's something that I think 303 needs to recognize is Wichita Wolves are having a lot of success on it. I don't think they pre-placed the Nitro this time around, but you are going to have to make that adjustment, because losing an entry that early on to the same pick, I think coming into after the rehost, I think that they might not have talked about it as much, or it might be something that could have escaped their mind, but definitely a reminder that they had, and definitely something we'll see if Wichita Wolves can get another one of those cheeky little kills that has really been working out in their favor.
And we highlight how different Rainbow Six Siege is from any other FPS. It's kind of like this weird MOBA hybrid, but if you're constantly skipping steps and not identifying things with your drones, you're going to be punished in the long run. Now, you can see 303 actively dealing with that second floor. They don't want to have a Nitro cell from underneath, but early grenades are going to try to deal with this washroom pressure. The grenade is going to bounce off the wall and completely miss. Grenades are like pockets of gold. You cannot be throwing them and have them not find their target.
And a lot of utility lost there for Krillis. He's not even going to have any drones, but Sovereign able to pick off one. That is going to be the player playing over, being a cheeky little bugger in train, and that is the second floor presence that Wichita Wolves have had. Now either of these players could rotate back down white or maybe drop balcony, but to get that C4, but as I say that, kills are going to really flood in. I think that was a nice little run out from Faded, getting the player there on Repel. That is going to be Nomad taken out yet again. This is the same issue 303 came into last time, and it really disrupted their attack. It's going to be whether or not that they can make those adjustments in order to get their execute down.
Iski has been the opening casualty for Wichita Wolves a lot in this series. Unfortunately for them, their primary entry is alive. Now, the problem with that is he has under 25 HP, so one bullet will be his undoing. Krill is going to make a very bad peek, showing his entire body to the door frame, and the man advantage that 303 once held has now gone to a 6-man lobby where everybody is equal, at least on the side of man count, but not on the side of HP. Shiver is going to be attempting to basically undo his own woes, trying to find somebody deep on the other side of pallets, but nobody from Wichita Wolves is going to present themselves. They're going to be attempting to play the clock as best as possible. There goes those entry kills. One of those individuals down earlier on, finally finished up. Well, with so little time, the clock working its way down, it's almost impossible for a 303. They're going to have to find the frags. There is one for the Ash player. He knows the other one is by pellets, but he's going to be looking the wrong way, unable to identify that final target. It's going to be another round win for Wichita Wolves, purely based off the clock.
And off the clock, indeed. I mean, Faded was the last one alive the first time that they had attacked this bomb site, but this time around, came back to that entry of the Ash in the 1v3, able to get 2, but not able to clean up the last. Wichita Wolves playing that clock, kind of getting a little bit cheeky and not going for the kill is so smart on their part, knowing that the diffuser's down, knowing that they don't have to worry about the plant, playing their lives in this situation wins it out. And that's why I know you said before, utility is something that separates Siege from a lot of other games. In Minus Search and Destroy on COD, I think that the clock is a big thing that separates Siege from any other game because you have to play the clock right. If you don't have that diffuser in hand, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you have to go for those frags, and I got to give it up to Ash. I mean, did a wonderful job, got 2, and almost caught the Jaeger on the rotate, but he was just playing his position. And honestly, it was very wonderfully done from Wichita Wolves. They've gone 3-1 in this half, and that is exactly what they want. If they can take 4 rounds, I think that this match could really be leaning a little bit in their favor.
The 303 that we see in the first 2 minutes of the round looks completely different from the 303 at the end of the round. 303 seems like they've dry run every single one of their takes on this map. They know where to put their drones, they know where to pre-fire, because they're constantly killing members of Wichita Wolves through pre-fires over here on gears and trains. But when it comes to their executes, they seem almost perplexed and slow. It takes 5 seconds to really go for your execute. And if you find yourself panicking with 30 seconds on the clock or even 10 seconds on the clock, that is a structural problem within the team that needs to be identified because 303 is looking lights out in that first 2 minutes. They look like they could be a championship team. They're just calls and the dying seconds of the round aren't the correct decisions.
Yeah, and I think that might be I'm wondering if that last round came out to that run out from Faded. I wonder if the Nomad coming off the board very early was the key to disrupting the strategy. It seems like a lot of their mid-round adaptations and actually getting their execute down, especially when key players are lost in it, making those adjustments is a huge part of your strategy. You can't just assume all of your players are going to be alive halfway or to the end of the round. You have to assume that things are going to change and you have to prepare as a team how you're going to make those adjustments. And it seems that 303 has been kind of squandering a little bit with those. And because of that, they've lost a lot of rounds as, oh no, Castle looks the wrong way as Silver hops down, but Devil able to clean up the scoreboard, leaving it to an equal man count. But man, the drone traded for the life is not what you want to see if you're Wichita right now.
Once again, Wichita Wolves is going to be the opening casualty. So they need to be changing where they're placing their offsite pressure because constantly they're being droned out and immediately followed up by 2 bodies. Even if you kill the drone as well as one of those entries, the second entry is going to punish you. I don't care how good of a player you are, you're not going to have the reaction time and malice pad to be dealing with that type of action. And the action is going to start to mount not only on this second floor, but as well as that first floor, as the attackers have to deal with the buffer rooms over by VIP.
Yeah, and VIP is going to be the key position held down here. I think the attackers wasted a little bit of time trying to go for their execute because this is a full this is a full turtle defense. As soon as you see those, as soon as you see bakery wall open and freezer wall open, you can kind of assume that it's going to be a turtle, and you can kind of push, kind of almost skip. I don't want to say skip, but you can almost skip that third floor push and kind of go for the second floor execute. They wasted a lot of time upstairs. We're going to be going to the last 25 seconds of the round. The VIP position still being held strong as he has one more ADS alive. We're going to see a player drop in a freezer. Ash able to get his pick, but looks at the camera at the wrong moment as he's going to be cleaned up. A flurry of kills coming in. It's all going to be left onto the Nomad. She's going to rotate into sight. She's going to try and find one, but Tyrant cleaning up that round as Wichita Wolves find them their 4th round in this map.
And once again, we see the 303 tunnel vision. They know where they want to push from, and you can tell from the fuse just opening up that top hatch that's going to telegraph to everybody on Wichita Wolves it is going to be a meat locker execute. And the initial part of that take into meat locker was looking like this was going to be a 303 victory, but 303 did not do their homework. They didn't break down some of those power positions, and one quick rotation being identified by the IGL would have changed the entire course of the round for 303. If somebody walked down either red stairs or brown stairs, that would have been the crossfire, and that would have forced Wichita Wolves to do a 2 frontal assault, something that they probably wouldn't have been able to deal with. And the sea of orange wouldn't have happened in the kill feed, it would have been the sea of blue.
Yeah, I think the really key position there, I believe held by Iski, was the VIP shield. That VIP shield is incredibly powerful because you can stop the drop from freezer, you can contest white stairs, and if you don't have to worry about brown stairs and you don't have to worry about whiskey, you almost have your back entirely clear. I believe it was the Valkyrie that was holding that brown stairs corridor, and that was huge for them. Not cleaning out that shield, not rotating a player down brown, which was the play to go for, left them a little bit squandered, and they didn't. It is tunnel vision. I think tunnel vision is the word that you have used and the word that best describes this game, because if they made those key rotates, this round could have easily gone in their favor. They had top floor control. They had their vertical holes. They disrupted defense like they did on their last attack. But because they weren't able to make those key rotates, I think this swung a lot more into Wichita Wolves' favor. And I think that Wichita Wolves making these adjustments mid-round just shows how strong and coordinated they've been. I'm really liking the way that their 2 new players have fit into their system.
One of the hardest things to do as an IGL is to see the world from all 5 players' perspectives. You basically have to be the observer of the lobby. As Henry orchestrates the round, clicking through his keyboard, you as an IGL have to do exactly that through your mind, and you won't have that visual reference. So if you understand there's a VIP hold, you in about a nanosecond, oh my lord, Tyrant says hello, and he's going to be buried far too quickly. We're talking a lot about IGLing, but sometimes mechanical skill is just better. But finishing up that IGLing point, you have to see the world from a bird's eye view. You have to see it from all 10 players' perspectives. And if you're unable to do so, you're going to make mistakes and not be able to deal with pressure points like VIP.
And that is exactly it. You don't have the bird's eye view. You have to listen to the comms, and this is why a good IGL is so few and far between. Because guys like Canadian that might not be the most mechanically talented players don't find as much success as Anarchy finally finds out Krill, as they've been kind of dancing around. A second kill comes in for him. A third as he is able to just hold down Cigar and this red stairs, as he's going to have another player try and peek it, but he has played this position beautifully. He's going to be stunned, and Sophia is going to be trying to get that rotate, but nevertheless, he's going to be taken out, but his damage has already been done. Silver trying to make something happen. Sovereign coming up with that big flick to begin this game, but the man count was very quickly turned around. Very well done by Anarchy, the man who has played so well. Devil able to get that kill, and it's all going to be left on to Sovereign as Devil finds the second, and him and Anarchy cleaning up that round, and 5-2-1 moving into the second half.
I said the acquisition of Anarchy would change the entire scope of Wichita Wolves. People say Bone is one of the most consistent players in this league, but everybody sleeps on Anarchy. His role in Homeland changed the entire scope of that team. He doesn't get flashy plays. He's kind of always on the sideline playing the roles that nobody actually wants to play. But when he's allowed to basically have free roam of a map, he can get those flashy plays. Everybody talks about the entries, nobody talks about those cool flexes.
Yeah, and that is something that I think Wichita Wolves pride themselves on, and it is really shown. They are not a team of entry, flex, hard support, or primary, secondary support, primary entry, soft breach. They are, we all flex, we all do everything. And I mean, it shows. Faded is a very talented fragger. He's not showing up very big on the kill scoreline. Devil is, and now Devil's playing the ace, not typically the main fragging operator. Anarchy getting that soft breach role, and Iski, who's been playing the Jaeger, hasn't been coming up big on the kills, but he's played key positions well. I really like the way that this new Wichita Wolves roster has kind of come together, and they showed we don't all just play one position. We do everything. Seeing that roaming Jaeger over in Cigar, the soft roam Jaeger, or soft zone roam Goyo over in Cigar, showing his mechanical skill. I think Anarchy has been a very big pickup, and his consistency and almost unpredictable play style has been very big for them in that defensive half.
I was extremely critical of Wichita Wolves back in round number 2 for not communicating amongst themselves and just kind of being perplexed where the overall scope of 303 was pushing from. But after round number 2, Wichita Wolves chatted amongst themselves since they did have that rehost. They identified their mistakes and they've looked lethal after that. And that is also a sign of a great team, a team that can break down their mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and actively change how those mistakes were made. A lot of teams basically just make mistakes and they will never learn from it. Anarchy is just going to drop and he's going to get a free kill. Sovereign looking the wrong direction, and hopefully that is a mistake that 303 can learn from.
Yeah, it looks like he was going to be playing, I believe that's called Shaiko. As he's going to be playing there, the call did not come out that they had already dropped the hatch, and Anarchy, playing just like the unpredictable player he is just going to move right on in. And we're going to be seeing Silver with maybe a little bit of an interesting gun choice, going for that scope on the ACS 12 as he's going to be holding that long angle. The attack is going to be moving forward, but getting out Sovereign early on for Wichita Wolves. This is a very big switch as they had been the first death almost every single one of their defensive rounds, finally coming up and getting their own to begin the round.
Well, I bet a long time ago, back in week number 1, that a certain individual on Synthetic Hazmat had to do a triple spawn peek with that ACS 12. Now, sadly, that didn't happen, but maybe it's Shiver's turn to try to go for that bet. He does have the ranged optics, and you can use that 2.5 or that 2 times sight to basically get a free headshot. A lot of players aren't comfortable running 4-3, which means they're not comfortable bringing out the 1 time sight. The Alda does have 82 bullets, but that gun has, well, 32 bullets of slug rounds.
32 bullets of slug rounds, and in the right hands is a very, very talented tool as Tyrant is able to clean out the smoke. I can see the execute now from Wichita Wolves coming in as they're going to clean up the Maestro. Iski playing so strong in that rappel. They're going to see both players pushed over into washrooms, not able to make anything happen as they're going to be stunned. Krill's going to be left on very low health. White Stairs is going to be the rotate. Delta's going to be doing exactly what he does well, is getting that defuse down, his 11th on the season, as we are going to be seeing Goyo try and rotate in, but very quickly shut down as Iski and Faded close out that round. And this is going to be Wichita Wolves coming in, swinging full force.
303 has impressed me throughout this series, but they're still struggling at identifying exactly where the pushes are coming from and how to counter them on the fly. If it isn't in their written strategy or in their checklist, they can't seem to deviate from that path. And you can see members of 303 constantly in the first minute of the round still placing utility, still trying to basically play their staged roam, but not as effectively as they should. So we're gonna need 303 to make their adaptations, and they're gonna have to make that now since they're currently sitting on match point.
And match point it is because Wichita Wolves have come out swinging. And I think you mentioned something there that I kind of want to touch up on. the inability to get those late round rotates has been the biggest downfall of 303. They haven't had any big plays come in. I don't know if it's the fact that Sovereign got taken out very early on and Sovereign could have made some of those key plays, but we didn't get to see Krill move anywhere out behind washrooms. We didn't get to see the Goyo rotate out anywhere out besides top of white stairs. And the staged roam is good, but you have to come up with some big plays. If they have that control and you aren't winning your guns, you're going to have to switch up the way you're defending and try and catch Wichita Wolves off guard, because Wichita Wolves have their number. They have the intel and they have the execute. And when they're able to get that execute down, unstoppable, and unstoppable they are, and unstoppable as they have been.
And I think it's a communication problem, not a structural problem with the operators who might be dying early on. It's just lack of identification. Now, Valkyrie cameras can be sent all the way to the north. Is this to prompt an aggressive peak, maybe from the small bakery, maybe a flyout from top of piano? But nonetheless, I'm curious to see how that's going to factor into the round. Maybe that's how 303 wants to change things up. Maybe they want to go for these banana plays and just be balls to the wall because they have really nothing to lose. You know, if they lose this round being too aggressive, the series, at least map number 1, was already forfeit. So at least they're trying to change something new.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they really need to do right now. They have to come up with some special plays. They have to kind of get aggressive or play into their strategy. Staying static, playing almost that K9 role. Not to the extent that K9 did, but playing kind of static, that's not what you want to see. And Wichita Wolves have punished them for it. Wichita Wolves have been so dynamic, so creative with the ways that they have their attacks come out, that they get their executes down, and they play this staged roam so well, because now they know that Krill's gonna be played off the pixel angle, but he's gonna rotate back. They don't know he went into washrooms, and they finally get Tyrant. They get their opening kill, but Iski's able to get one as also Trankum goes down, and this whole scope of the round is just going to be changing, but we are going to be seeing Krill play over here in washrooms. That they're able to isolate him. This could be a very key pick for the attack in order to close out the map.
This is Wichita's turn to basically rotate somebody over to the AC unit and actively deal with that white pressure. Now, with the rotation of Goyo downing the white stairs, he could be running out from somewhere towards the bottom garage. Krill wants to play his angle. This is going to be his hill to die on. A nitro cell is going to go up. That could have been phenomenal plant denial, but it's purely in vain as Anarchy wasn't quite over in that area. Krill, the man with his back against the wall, is actually able to find a kill. Somehow 303 was able to rotate away from the safety. The pounce from Wichita Wolves just hasn't come in yet. And 303, with their back against the wall, still may be able to save themselves.
Yeah, they're able to equalize up this player count as Iski and Anarchy make their way in. They're going to be playing over here in Bar. The fight going down in cocktails. Anarchy finds one. Iski finds another. It's all going to be left onto the Goyo playing over in white quarter. What deja vu of this last round, as Iski's going to be trying to get this diffuser down in this post-plant situation. If they set up their crosses, this could be the map. We're going to have to see Goyo make something special happen as he finds one. Iski's going to be taken down. The rotate is going to be going through. He's going to have to find the rotate, but Faded able to clean that out, and this is going to be a dominant map number 1 for Wichita Wolves.
And there they go. The hunting pack is going to be exactly what you'd expect them. They're circling around their prey, and they're pouncing upon them. The old Wichita Wolves is back. They've struggled in different leagues. They've struggled to synergize with their new team, but the struggle bus is no more. Will they be able to bring this out on map number 2? That is going to be the big question. But our lovely analysts have here to join us to break us down map number 1.
Hi, Cake. You're muted, my friend. Yep, it's all good. It's all good. I was so ready to hear what you had to say, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, it's happened. It's the caster's curse of having the mute button activated.
I think this has happened at least 5 times in the last 2 weeks. I think
Oh yeah.
I think I have super dementia or something, but that's okay because you know it's something very simplistic, Rigel. You don't have to be a paleontologist to figure out what was going wrong with 303's attacks and defenses. We did choose a few very certain rounds, and I think they highlight the really big pivotal point of where things turned around for 303. And when I say turned around, I mean it wasn't much of a turn. It was more like a kind of a little bit of a nudge in the direction of Wichita Wolves. But if we want to see here on our screens, I'm gonna move this over a little bit. Pretty much the big thing when it came to that kitchen defense was that they did the same. Well, 303 went for the same exact attacking structure that they went for on round number 3. That was the only round 303 ever won in this entire round. And they tried to do the same exact thing, copy and paste. But just like the fifth law of Newton's interdimensional tactics, or what, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. They
Oh
went for
man,
the
I thought you
same
were about
thing. We saw a push, Rigel. We saw a push, but there was no pull from 303's side. Wichita just pounced on them like a bunch of lions onto a flock of jackals. Now, those jackals, they could have AK-47s, they could have all the UMPs they want, but if you're not prepared and they get the drop on you, that's exactly what the defenders did, and they won that round, and frankly, just about every other round handedly.
Yeah, I mean, you made the comparison of Lions onto Jackals, and I've honestly got to say 303 is a team, or an org, I should say, from Colorado. So maybe the app description would be like Wolves onto Deer or something like that. They were tearing them up. The pack, it's absolutely, attacked on this one. And I don't know what 303 can do differently here, honestly. It's just Wichita Wolves is back for blood. They got Levron affected by their org for the OCL finals, and they're back for blood and they want to win, and that's just evident right now. And 303 is just losing gunfights, I think. I mean, what do you think, Keg? That's my perspective, but obviously you've been the one.
You're not gonna win if you do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
I mean, people say that's the definition of insanity. I think that's a super cringy quote. It might still be true, but I mean, you do the same thing over and over, and there's a reason why Krill went down first. One of our production people was asking out loud, but they were asking, well, why is Sledge always the first one to go down from a C4 in those instances?
Yep.
And I think what we saw against Krill was a really good example of that. The reason why we saw Sledge go down so quickly was that he made himself super apparent inside Fireplace. He made no qualms hiding his identity, where the push and locations were going to be for the entirety of the team because of Wichita's game sense. He used his hammer, he opened up that floor, he signed his death wish. With that very noticeable floor coming out, there's a lot of splash damage with the C4. You throw that baby on the ceiling, it's going to explode, and of course, Brill was taken down in the process. But Rigel, let's move on from that one and let's go into round number 7 and see what happened here, because honestly, it was the same exact story, same conclusion, beat for beat. You put these two rounds next to each other inside college classes, you'd be kicked out for plagiarism, but Wichita Wolves showed their utter dominance. But one thing I want to point out to you especially is look at Silver's primary weapon, right? Tell me if there's something weird about it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that took me a second to actually notice because it's small on my Discord screen. But why are you taking the AA-12 is what it's called in real life. I can't remember the actual name because I never use it in Rainbow Six Siege, and there's a good reason that you never use that gun. It is awful, my friend.
No, but here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So you bring your big boy out, right? He's got the impact grenades, he's got the bailiff, he's got the AA-12, whatever it's called, right? You have all of those, sugar spice and everything nice, but there's a certain Powerpuff Girl on the defense who also wields all of those things. I bet you can never guess what their name is.
Ooh, Alibi.
Why not bring Alibi? I mean, I can get why. If you're looking for the post-plan situation denial, sure. Bring the Maestro, bring the Evil Eyes, but we never saw it once get used. In fact, they were playing way too aggressive, but also aggressive in the point where they were swinging the wrong things, and they were being stagnant when they shouldn't have been. I love my boy Sovereign, but we saw him in that clip. He stood still and just let the attackers walk in and pounce all over him.
I mean, you make a really beautiful point there, actually, because, I mean, you were talking about it, and I believe the casters mentioned it as well, where you almost need to play hyper-aggressive when you're getting rolled over, especially in those last couple rounds. You need to play aggressive to sort of counter the aggressiveness and get yourself back on your feet. But, I mean, taking the Maestro like that, he's a one-speed operator. He has almost nothing to give in that sort of scenario. And like you said, they're not using the utility, so why not bring the Alibi, bring in a little bit of unpredictability? You're going to have those three, holograms to be able to fake out your positioning a little bit, and it just works out for you. But yeah, like you said, just didn't happen. So 303, Clubhouse is going to have to be your map. I don't know what else to say there. You're just going to have to find something deep inside. You're going to have to get the willpower back to come back after that 5-round, 5 rounds of loss one after the other like that.
No, you're totally right, Rigel. And look, it's easy to, point out the flaws and failures of 303 because it's so apparent for us to see as viewers.
Mhm.
And when you're on a keg desk, we are all about positivity and all that other shebang. So let's focus on the good things the Wichita Wolves
Sure.
brought out. Every single round, regardless if it was attack or defense, I think there was always a bunch of micro adjustments being brought out from, especially on their attacks. Every single round, we saw them employ something a little bit different, and sure, they were the same operators. They did mostly go for the same general attacking structures and clears,
Mhm.
but there were micro adjustments each time. Some rounds, even if it was, say, 303 on kitchen, right? They would go for top down clear from the top floor and bar. Sometimes they would go from the middle floor. They always kept 303 on their toes, so much so that, like a gust of wind, 303 just kind of fell over and got tumbled away like a tumbleweed. But Wichita Wolves knew how to adapt. And even though they're only number 5 right now in SCS, that is the kind of styling that really separates the water from the oil between all of these teams.
Keg, that is a fantastic point, my friend. I think a lot of that comes down to the analysts that they have, Cranberry Drip, and also Faded, the amazing IGL that he is. And I think the reason why they're that low in the standings is just they haven't played in SCS in a while. They've had a lot of reschedules the past couple weeks, and they're just starting to catch up, which is why we'll see them 3 times in a row this week. So with that being said, though, we're about to see them for a second map in a row right now, and we're going to go ahead and throw it back over to Chief and to Pond. But Keg, thank you again. It's been a pleasure on this desk, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Bye.
Keg, Nash, thank you so much. Thomas, we are back. It's going to be another round, and it's been a strong series so far by the Wolves. They end up winning 7-1 on their own map pick, but will they be able to repeat that on Clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, 303 has been very dominant on Clubhouse, but if we get to see this same team synergy, I mean, 303 is going to have to get those mid-round adaptations, and if they want to find anything, I'm really hoping they find it. I want to be right on this tie. I mean, but I also am kind of gunning for I'm kind of gunning for Wichita Wolves right now. I'm loving what I'm seeing from them. I would argue they're stronger than I'd even seen them at the end of season 4 when they had even gone for CL quals. This team, it just seems like their cohesiveness as an absolute team of flexes is exactly how Siege should be played.
Yeah, and we've seen these super rosters be made looking at you over there, G2, and they don't quite have the lethality as a lot of teams would expect. Just because you can click heads doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in the current meta. Now, the meta will be changing as of tomorrow, so maybe the G2 lineup will become that dominant force, but for the time being, it's going to be the flex rosters that are superior, at least for the 12 hours, and an operator that is the most hated individual across the board is going to be removed.
And rightfully so. I mean, Thatcher plays such a key role on this map. I can honestly see for the second operator ban, smart enough it would be to get a Maverick ban, but we could see something cheeky. I mean, 303 does have that first pick, but it is going to be the Maverick. Do you think with the new season change, we're going to be seeing more or less Thatcher bans?
Well, you still want your utility to be turned off, right? So Thatcher used to just EMP everything, and then everything would just fall into the nether realm and die, right? But now it's temporarily turned off. But it doesn't matter if your utility is turned off or destroyed. It's not going to save your life. That's going back to the pixel spot, right? Where you have all 3 of your ADSs and a plethora of my pancakes. Well, if they're turned off temporarily, you're still going to die in that position. So that same strategy is probably going to be tailored towards whatever new strategy we're going to be put into. A Kaid ban, very sensible since you have Maverick and Thatcher. That means invulnerable Kaids are going to be incredibly oppressive, and you have to instantaneously remove him. And Mira, same old, same old.
Yeah, I hate dealing with that mirror. If you see that shield up there and you see a soft wall next to it, it really hinders your ability to push a lot, especially on the church arsenal bomb site. That is a huge bomb site for Mira, and a lot of people have the Tetri bomb site of Jim because let's be real, no one wants to be playing that first floor bomb site. Absolutely nobody, unless you are trolling or throwing. That bomb site is honestly the worst out of any map in the competitive pool. Um, but nevertheless, I mean, we are going to be having to see a lot of 2 hard breach setups now, and that is the biggest thing that Clubhouse brings out. And honestly, the Ace Hibana duality is what a lot of teams will bring out with Ace being brought in. But I still got to give it up to Thermite. I think Thermite is one of the most solid choices for this map, but we aren't seeing a lot of teams opt to bring him now that Ace is in the meta and his AK-12, as we see a lot of teams comfortable with, they like to frag out with that op.
Well, it's going to be the strategy that most members of the general population can determine. It is going to be a derivative of the SSG style roam. This is going to force the attackers to utilize the majority of their drones upstairs, but particularly their hard breach gadgetry to open up either the east breach, which is CCTV, or the west breach, which is SPA, and then clear out the map methodically, dealing with those Mozzie pests, those mute jammers, and the potential offsite pressure of somebody trying to get very aggressive. Or you have the alternative strategy, which is the YOLO gun go burr, where you just hot drop one of the hatches or potentially through dirt tunnel or blue and attempt to bully everybody and their mother downstairs on the B bomb site. But it's going to be a third option. It's actually going to be the French style of execute.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be seeing dirt opened up and the drones are going to be going out. And this is something huge that 303 are going to have to realize. If they want to be able to actually win out on this roam, they're going to either have to clean out those roamers or try and get an execute down. Devil is going to find Silver. An absolutely monstrous pick for him because that's your Hibana. That is one of your hard breaches, and none of the hatches are open. Now you only have one more ace charge left. You're going to have to be able to try and open up that. You're going to have to be able to try and open up the kitchen hatch at this point. You can't even go for any other hatches. And oh my, that pick right there, I think really hinders them there. Really hinders them this round because with that SSG style roam, you need to be able to try and make something happen fast. And Devil finding his second, that's going to be your vertical play of the sledge. This is not looking very great for 303 as Devil is going to open up with another one, playing as the absolute animal he is.
So far, 303 is going to have to make the adaptations. They're going to be dealing with the offside pressure. And Devil is going to just sprint W, shift his way into his own demise. So eventually, 303 has now dealt with it. And it's going to force a rotation of Tyrant down the central stairs. He's going to be actively trying to play this position. There goes an aggressive wide swing. But a nice trade back and forth between these two teams is going to leave Sovereign stuck in a 1v3. He's going to have to go hunting and he's going to go down the stairs. The pre-fire into that shield, or not shield, through that barricade will give away his position, and that's going to prompt everybody from Wichita Wolves to try to get the remainder kill, and Insky credited with it.
You know, Chief, as I saw Devil running towards the pool table, I thought to myself, uh-oh, he's sprint challenging, and I just hear the words of you in my head. Don't sprint challenge. Don't sprint challenge.
Well, that wasn't even a sprint challenge. That was him just running around the map and dying. So, like, yeah, when you know there's somebody around and you accidentally just hold W shift to try to cover more ground with your guns well pointed at your toes, you're never going to win that engagement. So I won't necessarily call it a sprint challenge. That was him just monkeying around.
Yeah, that is a fair observation to make, but something I was trying to articulate before, but my brain fuzz prevented me from doing so. When you have that SSG style roam, a very interesting adaptation, bringing the Melusi instead of the castle, you want to be able to get your execute down and get it down fast. You don't have much of an opportunity if you don't opt to go for that top floor roam clear and you don't put that presence upstairs, which 303 had not. You want to pick an avenue to go down and get to site, clear out any of the anchors on site, hope you can get that opening pick, and then force those three roamers to try and retake site. That is not the case of what we saw, and having Hibana taken out as early on as she had, there was honestly absolutely nothing 303 really could have done to win out that round unless they had hit some absolutely insane shots. I gotta give it to Wichita Wolves getting that opening pick. Devil being the absolute menace he is, just completely cleaned that up for them, and 303 honestly was just left on their toes, speechless.
So Castle, and Legion are the original operators in the SSG style roam. Now Melusi in theory could fit both of those operators' roles, which is why we only see Melusi being played and the Maestro for information. Those Melusi wubwubs will alert you where the attackers are pushing from, and like the castle barricades, they will burn the attacker utility, also alerting you where the push is coming from. So basically accomplishing two operators with one, and Sovereign is going to make a little bit of an oopsie, destroying part of his HP with an impact grenade.
Yeah, a little bit of oopsie indeed, but he gets his second impact out there, and that clears out the band of batteries on that Khan's wall. That is going to be huge for them because now he's going to have to actively contest that hole. And a lot of teams find a lot of success, or not a lot of teams, but we see a lot of teams gain some success contesting stock from below, especially compared with a Khan's push. It clears out all those players in cache, and it can be used if you clear out all the first floor roamers. It can be used in substitute to opening up the big wall and trying to get that Raptors control. But if you do want to get the plan down, Raptors control is something you are going to need to get.
Crossfire is starting to be established. Now, Raptors has fallen out of the current meta, and Sovereign is going to fall out of this lobby as he hasn't dealt with any of that offside pressure. Victus's turn to now attempt to do almost the impossible, finding the roamers. It's going to be an easy task for him as he's going to get a free headshot, and now the attackers have control of the entire map. But I have misspoken. They haven't accounted for Iski, who's rotating towards Bar.
Yeah, that is being caught in a rotate. Iski playing that wonderfully. His positioning is going to be key as Tyrant finds Krill. We don't see that big wall open, and it's just going to be left on to Silver and Tranquium as they are going to be left in this key with this solo position over here in Cons as all the defenders know where they are. Faded with the C4, clears out Silver. It's all going to be left on Tranquium. He hasn't been able to find one. Devil rotates outside, gets the headshot, and wins out that round. Beautifully executed by the Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, 303 is playing this execute like individuals. They understand the mini games they have to participate in. They understand the operators that have to break down those mini games, but they're not supporting their team as they go for that ultimate goal. And that's what separates, again, better teams from worse teams, is how teams end up synergizing with each other. Like opening up a breach, sure, it's just the ace who throws his charge. But if he hasn't had drones supporting him, crossfires, he's never going to be successful in Endeavor because somebody's going to fly out of garage and punish him. 303, I was incredibly impressed with their first 2-minute executes on Kafe, but right now, that synergy that they had on Kafe has yet to be shown here on Clubhouse, and hopefully they can bring it back on the tertiary bomb site.
And yeah, this is going to be a key round for them because something that I've really noticed out of them is you don't see a whole lot of droning in the beginning, and you see them really bunch up and try and all push from the same XQ. We aren't seeing any split pushes, we're seeing all linear pushes. And even though we are seeing them push from below, doing their own individual mini games, I mean, we got to see Sophia push from below, clean out the utility on the Khan's wall. We got to see them open up the we got to see them drop logistics, drone out logistics, get gym master bedroom side control. But they didn't even establish that gym bedroom side control because Iski was still able to rotate there and clean out the Asher she was trying to rotate. I mean, it is a game of individuals right now, and I think that 303 needs to come together and be like, look, we are all playing for that ultimate goal. We need to start droning for each other. We need to start having that synergy because, as we have said time and time again, synergy is key for winning games.
This is an unusual strategy. Now, most teams elect to hold cache box, where they fully reinforce everything over in cache, leaving one rotation up through red. Now, they have the red rotation, but the majority of the wall is, well, left soft. And that is exactly why. So Iski can stand up and click some heads. An aggressive peek from Devil is going to sacrifice him, and that is a Nitrocell. One of your best plant denials now shut on down, and it's going to be a kill feed rolling on through. The slot machine goes ka-ching as Wichita Wolves finds himself in a huge man advantage.
Even though Devil got taken out there, it was not in vain as we get to see Iski be the absolute animal he is. As I say his name, cursed for Silver to take him out. But nevertheless, he has found some kills, but we get to see 303 kind of equalize this out as Silver is going to be trying to get some push coming in here and making the decision of whether or not to continue on that cash push or try and maybe make a rotate over towards Cons as we get to see Krill open up the jacuzzi wall and try and drone himself in this 2v2. It is going to be a little bit more challenging one as we get to see Faded with that nice little cheeky C4 and the Aldo, which does love to go burr in the little clutch situations that we see, but there's still a minute 30 left in the round. Positions can be found, and both teams can either take this slow or find their swings as we see the Mute just trying to play over here Master Bedroom and Silver try and find a way to rotate up.
I'm not sure if you caught that, but Krill's kill there was basically off him mag dumping all the way towards connector. And somehow somebody from Wichita Wolves stood up and had his forehead removed from his body. A huge oversight by them. And remember, when you have the man advantage, utilize that man advantage as an asset. Always trying to peak with your man advantage, because if you try to go for 1v1 exchanges, you have the potential of losing gunfights. And well, Wichita Wolves lost 2 huge gunfights, and it's now forcing them to change up their micro positioning. And the changes they made did not work out well. And there goes a trade back and forth now to a 1v1 with 33 seconds.
Yeah, Diffuser is going to be going down with that trade, and Krill is going to be trying to pick it up, but he's going to be dealt with the peskiness that is that Maestro turret. He's going to be left down at very low HP as we get to see Anarchy swing through and gets the kill and cleans out the round. A lovely 1v2 from Anarchy, making great use of his camera and making that all the infinite pre-fire machine go burr.
We're talking about in map number 1. Anarchy is just a good, consistent player. If you need him to get flashy kills, he can do that. If you need him to be consistent and save you rounds because your team made a huge blunder, he will be there, because he's not going to be that individual that gets basically a little bit too aggressive. Those jitters start to happen. Maybe you haven't got a kill in a very long time and you just want to punish the attackers. You can never have that mindset, because sometimes you may think you're the best mechanical player in the world, and you sure could be, but you might lose a gunfight purely based off some bad luck and peeking into a spray.
I really want to point out something right now, and it's something very different from what we've seen from Wichita Wolves team from weeks past to this game, and it is the same way on map number 1. We aren't seeing a very top-heavy roster. Every single player is playing into their positions, and they are still getting kills. And even though Faded is only sitting at 1, he's played his position well. He's able to get some of those key picks, and they have really enabled each other to have the most success as possible. And as a team, that is what you want to see, as we are going to be going back down to their primary bomb site, as they had a perfect sweep and dominant it was, minus that last round on their tertiary bomb site. Wichita Wolves didn't seem like they were putting their foot off the gas at any moment in any of those 3 rounds. 303 is going to have to be playing a little bit more cohesive. I got to give up for Krill. He was able to kind of clean that up. A beautiful shot, as you had mentioned on before, but he's going to be able to have to kind of collect his nerves. And I know that when you have a Maestro turret shooting you from behind, you know that he's going to be peeking that corner. You're going to be left on low HP. You don't know where the kill is going to be coming from. It is a stressful situation, but the good players from the great players really define themselves on how they play in those key moments.
It seems like Wichita Wolves is basically like a 5-legged stool, where all legs are just equally as important, but you can knock away 2 of those legs and the stool will still stand. Where conventional wisdom will say, basically, you have 2 legs, your primary and your secondary entry, and the other 3 players are that 3rd leg, and just sometimes it doesn't work out very well for you. And it looks like Tyrant is trying to find one somewhere outside. He understands there's a crossfire being held by a chain repel, but he also knows that there could be a repel by the Habana to get that top hatch. He's going to translate that information over to Devil, who gets a free kill off it.
Yeah, Devil's free kill. He's doing exactly what he did last time. He's going to be holding that bar. The run out comes out. That's going to be the Habana yet again without getting the hatch down. A very key pick, as he's going to be just rotating outside, Tranquium finding Devil and trying to stop the menace on this bomb site. And the equalizer comes in from Sovereign to take out Tyrant, but maybe a little bit too late, as you lose your Habana without finding those hatches opened.
Well, the SSG Rome is going to be playing all the dividends they could possibly ask for. It has wasted time, it has wasted utility, but things are starting to narrow for both of these teams, and it's going to get a little bit sharper, as Sovereign's going to find one of the most important kills in round 4. All the offside pressure has now been dealt with, and it's going to be the turtle defense of Wichita Wolves to save them. Now, fortunately for them, Anarchy is alive and active with his Alda.
He is alive and active, but I don't know what the utility is looking like over from Krill. He does not have any ace charges left, and they don't have any hatches open. That is going to be huge. They are going to have to split up how they want to get this push. As we see Krill push down dirt, his position is going to be known, but the Alda is going to be able to go burr. He's going to have to worry about some of these vertical holes. The vertical pressure is not going to come in as we get to see the other two players rotate down those main stairs, as Krill is just going to be peeking left and right. Faded is going to try and find one. The peek does not pay out for him as Tranquium finds his head, and Tranquium playing very well, but Anarchy doing exactly what he does so well. He finds two really quick kills. The defuse is going to be going down. They hop off the defuse. We see Sovereign come up with his third kill of the round, and he finds one for 303.
Finally, 303 able to have their own saving grace. A brilliant pre-fire. Sovereign clearly had information on that play. And Wichita Wolves almost, once again, was able to save the round based off pure and utter chaos. Or you can call it anarchy. You can see 303, they understood they had to deal with the off-site pressure, but they didn't know really how to deal with it. And once again, members of Wichita Wolves put themselves on silver platters and got killed for free. They need to tone down their aggression. Right now, Wichita Wolves finds themselves in a very dangerous mindset. Adjusting their aggression dial up to 6,000 is where a lot of T3 teams love to be, but no T1 team really is at that level of pure and utter banana aggression.
It almost reminds me of a call Pengu made during one of his Go 4s last year, where they were playing against a team of ranked stars, and his team was entirely comprised of pros. And he was talking about the way he was pushing, and he said, look, they're getting desperate right now, and in their desperation, he said, they're going to just strictly go to their ranked strats. We need to play off of that. We need to continue to play onto our strategy, understand their positioning, make sure they can't run out on us, make sure we punish them for their aggression. And that is exactly where a lot of teams find themselves in. When Faded was in that little key position where he was trying to aggress on those two guys pushing down main stairs, if he waited just a few seconds, he probably could have found a kill, and it would have been a 2v2, and it really could have changed out the way that round went through, and he wouldn't have left it as a 1v3 to Anarchy. Anarchy did his best, but he couldn't have found that. When you are in those stressful situations, you have to rely on your strategy. You have to stay patient, because patience is the key. Getting aggressive at the right moments, not just getting aggressive at every moment, is really the way to be not just a good player, but an amazing player.
And to build upon that a little bit more, don't be too stuck in playing in certain operators, where you can see Anarchy now on the Wamai instead of the Alda wielder, because his job is to play a role, not an operator. He is that flex individual, and if his job is to hold offsite pressure and lobby, well, the Alda isn't going to be the best gun or the best operator, simply because if you die early on, those evil eyes will be stuck in a fixed position.
Yeah, and you really want to have the maneuverability you get with the Wamai. And I personally really like the AUG. I think the AUG is a good gun. I know they introduced the 1.5 sight to the MP5. I still prefer the AUG, but he plays his position, and that is a very key thing that Wichita Wolves have done, not only on defense but on attack. Every player plays their role, but they can all play any role, as we get to see Iski doing exactly what he did last time, cleaning out that Ash and then rotating back. He gets his pick and doesn't get aggressive, doesn't get too cocky, and just tries to find another. That is a really big cost for 303. They did not drone him out. They did not find his position, and as they are going for this cons execute, it is going to be important to try and clean this up, as Sovereign does find Tyrant, but it is going to be a minute 8 left. They are going to have to clear out some of these roamers and some of this offsite pressure if they want to make an execute happen.
Anarchy has created panic over in lobby. He has changed his positioning. He has wasted so much time. Finally, he has been dealt with as he's down but not out. That man has done basically nothing other than sit in a corner, but he can be credited with 2 minutes being absolutely obliterated. And then Wichita Wolves are going to start to overpeak once again, and members of their roster is going to start to fall. We've been in a 1v2 before, but that was with Anarchy. with the Alda in hand, he will no longer be able to save his team unless he is on camera duty, making those ever so crucial calls. Now the attackers are going to have to start to push out through fatal funnels. One of them is going to attempt to do that, and they will be down and captured by a Pokeball. The Myriad of Death is going to start, but it's going to be 303 slightly in favor of that, as it's going to be another answer back. The push on through is not going to work out well, as it's faded, stuck in a 1v1, SMG-11 in hand, looking in every possible direction. It's going to be SMG-11 Bro on SMG-11 Bro violence, with the diffuser sacrificed with no way of picking it up. Wichita Wolves, once again, they do what they do best, winning rounds because Father Time says so.
And that is a clutch player. Understanding the diffuser is down, having that call. As soon as that call is made, diffuser is down, you know that the Sledge is not playing in that position. You hear him come up red stairs. You still have the cams up. You still have that call. That is it. And that is patience. That is not taking the gun, not trying to go for the kill. That is going for the win. And I just got to say, an absolutely wonderfully done 1v1 there in the end. I don't even think I don't think 303 knew that Iski was down on the Jaeger. I think they still thought he was up until I think he was confirmed in the end of that round, but I thought he was still up, and they were cautious pushing up the red stairs because of it. And that is key. Iski has had that nice little rat type style roam where he's keeping the defenders on their toes, or the attackers on their toes. And you have players like Anarchy or players like Devil that they play offsite, and they play that more aggressive roam. They play that I'm in your face, I'm gonna force you to push me out, I'm gonna waste as much time as possible, I'm gonna hold down key positions, while Iski will play that more rat style roam where he'll just come up, and as players are trying to take out somebody maybe like Devil, maybe like Anarchy out of those little positions, he'll come up, find them on the flank, cut off the crossfire that's attempting to be set up, and then rotate back. And we got to see that, just not even him getting kills, but his presence preventing that push up red stairs. And if we saw the split push up red stairs, and we saw maybe a rotate down the Khan's hatch earlier on, that could have gone very quickly into 3-3's favor. I really got to give up. I really got to give up that round to Iski's nice little pesky roam play.
Now, I don't want to make this sound like this is the Anarchy show, but he literally crawled outside of the map as far away as possible just to waste more time. He was down but not out and still wasted 20 seconds. That is a brilliant play, but I do want to bring it back to earth just a little bit. Wichita Wolves is playing as a cohesive unit. I was incredibly critical of them this weekend for not doing that, but it looks like Wichita Wolves is now firing on all 5 cylinders, and it's hard to pick out one true standout performer because everybody on Wichita Wolves has been playing brilliantly, and Devils can get a little bit too aggressive this time, but fortunately for him, he still has 4 teammates to back him up.
Yeah, and that is another big thing. Even though they are down a player, being down a player is not something we see them struggling with, and not something we see them necessarily needing. I mean, Devil getting those key kills and not taking out that Hibana is going to be very challenging for them, but they still have these roamers on the 3rd floor that the attack has not even done a single thing to cut off. Maybe they've cut down those rotates, but they're creating those vertical holes, and they're creating that top-down pressure. I mean, they have to now contest below and above, and I'm really liking Iski's roam up here. Having a 5-man cohesive team and being able to play in that man down is really another thing that'll separate out good teams from great teams.
Iski is being an absolute thorn, but have to turn into a rose to save his team. But maybe 303 hasn't actually done their homework. Maybe they haven't done their due diligence actually droning out that there's still members upstairs. Clearly they haven't completed and turned in that homework assignment because Iski's gonna find his kill. Sovereign's also heading upstairs, but he's actually able to win that. And another 4-2 split in round number 6. Wichita Wolves has been here once before, but there's a member all the way towards the basement as well as somebody trying to go back up those central stairs. Fade is going to have to get aggressive. He's been confirmed by a drone, forced to rotate to greener pastures.
Yeah, greener pastures indeed, as we're going to be seeing this nice little peak come in from dirt, as Faded is going to be just trying to find one. Same with Tyrant, as he is going to be having to contest 2 locations. C4 out, can it confirm anything? No, as Tranquium drops on down, he gets faded, but Tyrant cleans that up. It's going to be a 3v1. Plant is going to go down. crossfires are set up, he can't find a position in there, and he's just going to be cleaned up by Sovereign, who opened that up. And what a round for 303. A 4-2 split is exactly what they need going into this second half. And they're going to have something special come out on defense. They're going to need to try and disrupt Wichita Wolves, because with Wichita Wolves have been playing, especially how we saw them attack on Kafe, I would be thinking that this is their heel on the ground. They need to come out swinging.
Wichita Wolves is a little bit too committed to their SSG style roam. What was so good about that roam was it wasted time and utility. Now, if the attackers aren't directly clearing you and they're basically setting up crossfires, so when you get aggressive, you get punished, that basically says, and it should say to your IGL, hey, we need to change up our strategy. This is clearly not working. Let's start to rotate our players down to our basement, and let's play this as a more traditional style turtle hold. And that is actually the beauty about the SSG style roam. You, in theory, could fake the offsite pressure and still do a traditional turtle and be just as strong, if not stronger, because you wasted time and utility.
Reaper had a really good breakdown of that, where the biggest key to that roaming style is the operators you have allow for a lot of different ways for the roam to come out, but we didn't see any difference between it. It was the same exact style roam every single time. It was successful twice, wasn't successful the third time. Doesn't mean it's wrong for them to play it that way. No, because it had the success. But it's all about the presence. The same way with Iske playing over on Blue Stairs, it's having that presence. If they didn't play Devil and Bar and maybe rotated Devil over towards Strip and had the rotate come in through Bathroom, and maybe instead of playing Iske upstairs, they rotate Tyrant upstairs and have Tyrant play above Kitchen. It really depends on switching up those positions and switching up how you push the attack, because if you push it the same way, they honestly don't necessarily need to drone you. They need to be able to kind of catch you as you rotate in and as you try and take that. And that's exactly what we saw as they cleared out Devil. It's exactly as we saw as they cleared out Iske and as they cleared out Tyrant. And not switching that up did play to their downfall, but it was successful 2 out of 3 times. And I say as a team, that's kind of a win.
Iski needs to get his headphones checked, and maybe he should be looking into buying a HyperX headset, as he completely missed the hot drop through construction. The mute basically opened it up with his pocket shotgun and then fell through the hatch, and Iski was basically undeterred by it. It looked like he didn't know that happened at all. That could have been a free kill if he got the audio cue. A nice pre-fire going down range, and that could have been, well, the opening that they desperately needed. Unless he was trying to play it passively to send his utility vertically, I doubt that's the play. Now, dealing with the Raptors presence might be the avenue for the attackers to push on through to set up their crossfire, but there's a member over in Harry Potter, and the mute is just going to sprint away, and it's going to be a free casualty as the orange team finds the scoreboard rapidly.
Orange team coming up big. That's Raptors control. That is one of your roamers. If they're able to clean out Jaeger, this could be a very, very quick execute coming in from Wichita Wolves, as Iske is going to be playing a little bit more passively. He hears the fire coming in, but it doesn't seem super phased by it as he's holding that position. And we are going to be seeing Jaeger try and rotate back up Pred stairs to try and reinforce sight, but it definitely is not looking good, as they do have that cash wall or that CC wall open. They are rotating over. They are getting this execute down. If they have what they need, if they can get a player in there, preferably Devil, with the amount of plants that he has to get that plant down and prevent any players from coming from below or possibly getting the cross, this could be the round, because they are set up in the key position you want to be for that crossfire. Is going to be seeing Jaeger run outside and clear out the player on that CC wall. Sovereign rotating down. I don't even think Iske even heard him. And it's going to be equalized right back out. 303, cleaning this up very nicely, as we get to see Anarchy try and equalize it out and put them back in the position they want to be. Jaeger's going to be able to try and rotate up. Devil struggling a little bit with that diffuser. Sovereign finds yet another. It's going to be a 2v2. Anarchy, the man of the hour, cleaning it up. It's going to be a 1v2. Devil needs to get this diffuser down with only 1 second left. Vertical holes through. He's able to get the down, or he's able to get the guy off, as they went out that round at just the skin of their teeth. Wonderfully executed from Sovereign.
I was about to compliment Wichita Wolves for a phenomenal round, and we saw Iski push in through stocks and hold the flank. Far too often do T3 teams think that primary entry means you get all the big, grandiose, flashy, cool highlight kills, but actually an entry means you take map control. And Iski's job was to take control of stock. That was as much map control as they needed, and he held his ground. A perfect execute there. But where Wichita Wolves went wrong was they didn't expect the unexpected. Run outs from Master Bedroom are incredibly common. Now you can see that Faded was trying to participate in his crossfire, where for the time being, he actually didn't need to do so. And also to build on Iski, he should have still been holding his angle because, well, that's where the primary threat was. But he decided to leave his post when his post needed to be manned the most.
Yeah, and he decided to leave his post, and I don't know if Devil was down or just got off the defuse because he was
He was
losing
down.
health. He he was down, and because he was down, that cleaned it up. But if Iske stayed in that position, I don't think he needed to rotate off of it, and staying there, that would have allowed them to win the round because you wouldn't have allowed Sovereign to push down below. You wouldn't have allowed him to take that position, and maybe getting the pick, not just looking up, but kind of looking around. I think that one of the biggest things there, I don't know if I don't know if Iske was able to hear anything that was going on because I mean, you hear clearly from below that the player is there. I'm wondering if it might be a little bit with the sound, but nevertheless, 303 came in big at the end. The IQ play to push from below and try and stop the diffuse from below rather than take up those heads up gunfights was very wonderfully done. And I do have to give it up for Sovereign for keeping his composure even when that round was absolutely hectic.
Now, Thomas, I have a solution. If you're missing audio cues in game or you just want to listen to music, HyperX is always a good choice.
HyperX is a great choice, and it's the choice that I've gone for since I've been on PC, and even back on my console days, the dreaded days those were. Nevertheless, we're going to be moving on, and Chief, this is kind of an interesting strategy. We're seeing almost a soft roam, but total, not a not a total turtle, but they had forgotten to reinforce that moto hatch, and I think that could be big because that'll open up a lot more utility and hard breach utility if they want to try and get an execute down and open in onto church.
A massive oopsie, dare I call it a blunder being made by 303. And as you're highlighting, that's going to be more utility. The attackers can basically be throwing towards the feet of 303. And in their turtle defense, explosive gadgetry could be your undoing as a tango to who can open up the top hatch or who can defend the top hatch. The longest starts to begin. And while Anarchy is going to be attempting to pre-fire through that wall, and the attackers are now started their boa constrictor style strategy, wrapping around the defenders as much as possible before they go for the choke.
Yeah, and Sovereign is going to be playing that sole man in church, and he's going to have to really rely on his other players to stop the push from blue as we get to see the grenade go in. That is Sovereign taken out, and now it's going to be all left onto Krill. Krill's going to be able to have to hold off this blue position because if they are able to take him out, that is going to be huge because then they have an open avenue to push into church and get the plant down and force the attackers to try and make an execute come over from Arsenal. As I say that, Krill's able to find two, holding that position. Devil might have found one, but it's not going to be anything as we get to see this diffuse go down. Anarchy trying to stop everything he can. Devil so good at what he does. He's able to get the plant down, and it's going to be a post plant for 303 to retake this.
For the time being, the defenders are going to have to turn into attackers miraculously. But there is going to be no voodoo in the lobby. Wichita Wolves still able to win this round. Far too often do attacking rosters forget about blue executes. You need to set up your crossfire. Now, technically, by the definition of a crossfire, Wichita Wolves did fail since the crossfire was killed. But it did force 303 to fight two different fronts, and the majority of 303 was actively dealing with blue, which basically allowed Wichita Wolves to stroll on into the bomb site and probably get one of the easiest plants of their career. Wonderful synergy, and if they're able to continuously create that macro strategy, 303 has to be more conscious of where the push is truly coming from.
You know what they say, there are three guarantees in life. Death, Taxes, and Devil getting that diffuser down. That is what he's good at. He's also a phenomenal fragger, but he's able to do it all. He's reminding me of Goga. Even when all that blender's going down in blue, he says, I can plant, because they see that the defenders are so hyper focused on blue. He has the time and he has his players over by main stairs to cover him. And I mean, I gotta say that was wonderfully executed. Krill did hold his position well, and that was a key position. But I mean, I even got it kind of hyper focused that, okay, blue is going to be one of the more important positions in this round, not even focusing on the fact that they already have their church execute ready to go. And it's just preventing the blue player from getting the peek in to stop the rotate into that default plant in church. Absolutely wonderfully done by Wichita Wolves.
And that's a strong thing when you actually do a traditional church take, right? You have to be conscious of blue as well as central stairs. A lot of attacking rosters think we're just going to drop Moto Hatch. We're going to have people come down central stairs. That is going to be good enough. But that's going to draw all the focus all the way towards the west. You need to change things up. And that's actually why the French style of executes, where you isolate all the B bomb site, is incredibly oppressive, because it basically turns everything into the B bomb site into a fatal funnel or a giant kill box, and the defenders are gonna have to push out into that. So, will Wichita Wolves do that type of execute, or will they do the same execute they did in the previous round?
It's really going to be whether or not they can get that kitchen hatch open, because if they can get the kitchen hatch open successfully, they very easily can isolate off that B bomb site. But 303 did a really good job at actively contesting kitchen and actively pushing them off, using their utility, using their impact grenades to stop any hard breach utility. It was big for them, but I mean, honestly, without getting that open, a lot of teams get blundered because they only have one style of execute. The mid-round call for, okay, kitchen isn't working. We can't isolate B, but we can clean out over here on blue. We have Moto Hatch open for free. We have that second avenue, and seeing that switch come in, I think that was a really good call coming in from Wichita, and a lot of teams don't see that, and I gotta give kudos to them for it.
Iski is playing very passive on the strip side. He has taken map control, but he isn't actively trying to participate in a fight. Maybe he's just trying to hold the flank, maybe he's trying to cover, but he's now back in action. Atypical to say the least, but sometimes you need exactly that. There goes another reattempt of that frag grenade that paid the dividends in round number 8. It is going to find its target a little bit, but they're going to still be alive and active, as Jaeger's going to fill that void, and things are starting to kick off.
Yeah, 303 drawing that first blood on Devil, a very big kill as the ace is going to be taken out. That is your hard breach utility, and that is going to be your primary planter, as Jaeger yet again cleans up another. But Anarchy, who's had just an absolute monster of a game, finds the trade and pushes on in as Tyrant tries to do the same thing, but Jaeger not giving up his position in blue, as he's going to be able to take out Tyrant. Fada going to be able to drop that Moto Hatch, but he's going to be all stuck in Moto as Silver gets one, and he is going to be stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because every single rotate he has is going to be covered, as a nice little BM move from that Maestro turret cleans that up, and that is going to be the match, or the round. Woo.
A little too early to be calling the match, but 303 is doing a wonderful job. And once again, that round came down to bad communication. The attackers wanted to repeat their success story in round number 8. I am fine with that, but where it went wrong was the fact that they didn't coordinate when and where they're actually going to be pushing from. In round number 8, the boa constrictor squeezed on all sides at exactly the same time. In round number 9, the blue push squeezed first before the central take was ready. And that's why the defenders were able to fight two different fronts at the exact same time. They kill one front, and then they turn and face the other front, and it's basically like a linear take at that point.
Exactly, and I think one of the key differences between these two rounds is they were not able to get that grenade kill in blue. They still had the Jaeger playing in blue, and that I mean, I honestly I talk about blue a lot with this push, because you have to have that split push, but not cleaning out that Jaeger really messed up their execute, and then having Ace taken out as the first one, Krill being an absolute animal to get that kill, and I think that was really the key, because now you lose a lot of your hard breach capability. You're not able to open up that church wall as much, and they're trying to go for that same execute on the church onto church and trying to isolate off A, but now you can't because you don't have Ace, you don't have that kitchen hatch open, and you're just kind of stuck with, we now have to drop Moto Hatch and kind of YOLO it, and that isn't successful. And they were set up for those crossfires, and in the end, it was all on Silver, or not all on Silver. My apologies. It was all on the Hibana to try and make something happen, and I mean, at that point, you just can't.
And in round number 5, again, I've been highlighting the Anarchy show, it seems like today. But truly, Anarchy stole my heart in round number 5. He wasted so much time and did truly nothing. He didn't snipe away any drones. He was lurking in a corner, basically just sitting there. He could have been on Twitter. He could have been twiddling his thumbs. His presence and existence over by the lobby was just enough. And it seems like the attackers didn't have the drone economy, which they clearly still did, or the understanding or even wanting to deal with him. But nonetheless, their indecision at killing Anarchy, or at least attempting to do so, was a huge oversight in this round. And I've been critical of 303's IGLing for missing, well, simple steps.
Yeah, but it seems like they are kind of clearing it up now. I mean, even though it was really a first half Wichita Wolves show, and Wichita Wolves absolutely dismantled them on that first gym execute, them understanding their mistakes of needing to play blue a lot heavier, and understanding that Wichita Wolves wasn't going for that bar hatch anymore. They weren't actively contesting it. They were actively contesting blue, and they were actively contesting Moto. Because they had made that switch, I really like that 303 adjusted their players accordingly. They weren't actively contesting kitchen anymore, and they solely focused on, okay, we need to try to find picks right now. We need to not give up our positions. We need to not give up our lives, because if you lose that player, again, in blue, that's it for you. And I liked how Jaeger was able to rotate back into church, bait out that second nade, and really clean it up for them in the end.
And this is just a beautiful clutch attempt here. Two SMG 11s attempting to go back and forth, trying to duel, maybe waltz amongst themselves. But when you're in a clutch scenario like this, you have to be laser focused on your goal. Are you going to be attempting to win the round by playing aggressive and killing your adversary, or are you going to win the round by planting the bomb? And sadly, the SMG 11 bro on attack made the wrong decision. He committed to both at the same time. He tried to get aggressive. He realized, oh crap, I don't actually know where he is. So let me go find the bomb. Oh crap, I actually don't know where the bomb is. And he's stuck basically deciding, and his indecision costs him this round, because you can see him attempting to find the diffuser in construction, realizing it's in Logi, and then going back into cash to try to kill. Like, you have to be laser focused, and you have to commit to your decision. If it's like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to kill. If I die in this endeavor, I tried my best, or I'm going to get the diffuser and I tried my best to plant, but you have to go with one of those.
Yeah, and this round was, again, that first, this first defense we saw on the Tetrary bomb site, with the very interesting decision to hold cash. And typically you have that cash rotate onto red, but they did not have that. They're playing Iske on that, on top of those stairs with that nice little Goyo shield. And this was a quick flurry of kills. We get to see Krill have, again, what you had said before, something that I had missed the last time. That is an absolutely beautiful shot. He had just found the head, spraying in and mag dumping, and that cleaned up a lot for them. But I mean, at the end of the round, they weren't able to clean it out. And I think this is the round that I really started to notice, okay, Anarchy is he's kind of a beast, honestly.
I love the old Homeland roster and what they were known before as the HLA roster. They are one of the most consistent teams across T3. They were just so darn good. They're the strategy, or the team being led by Heems. And when strategy would go out the window, they would just click heads. And they were pretty good at that. We also have Navozo and Exile, who are H or XHL members on In Control Nation, who played earlier today. So obviously, Homeland might not be an org participating in Siege. They still are carrying on their legacy.
Yeah, and both of their ex-players playing very well. Navozo, we got to see go absolutely nuclear this last time around on that In Control Nation game, going, I believe it was 8-0 in the overtime half. I mean, he brought it up alive and won out that game for his team. Just an absolutely animal of a player. But we are going to be going back into this match, and it's going to be a CCTV cash defense.
So 303 has started to fight their way closer to a tie in map number 2 as it sits at a 4-5 scoreline. It is imperative for 303 if they want to try to tie the points today, just win this round, deliver us to round number 12, and then try to conclude the series. But it's going to have to be a 3-round sweep for them to actually do so. And Wichita Wolves has technically had a timeout where they get to communicate with Cranberry, break down what's happening, and some early damage being dealt to Jaeger might not be the step in the right direction.
Yeah, and this is a time for not only Wichita Wolves to correct some of their mistakes, but 303 to kind of say, look, we've been playing on fire. We've been playing it the way Wichita Wolves have been playing as well. I think that this time around on defense, they're going to have to hold off that Raptors a little bit more efficiently. We didn't see any play from Silver on the Maestro the last time around, and a very interesting decision. We're going to be seeing Krill roam all the way downstairs in Church, playing that basement roam that we see a lot of teams try and sneak around and do. And it's something that I really like. We're going to be seeing the same from this Jaeger. And I think that if Krill and Jaeger are able to be successful on this roam, I think they can actually bring out this round. But it's also going to come down to, can they keep Raptors? Because last time Silver was honestly he was a no-show, and because of that, I mean, Wichita Wolves had more of, I mean, other than the heroics at the end of the round, Wichita Wolves had a very easy avenue to take the site.
I want to go back to the rotation downstairs in basement. This is incredibly brilliant. A lot of teams put a flank round downstairs in basement over by dummies or AKs. But it's like a highway where most defenders are going to walk through that area. But basically, 303 has made their own back road. That rotate over into blue might not be caught out by a preset flank drone. So members of Wichita Wolves might be perplexed when they get shot in the back down their road. Now, they should not be perplexed when they're getting shot over from by a blue window, since they know the majority of the attackers are over in that area, but nonetheless, Mute's going to take a little bit of damage.
Mute is going to take a little bit, as well as Jaeger, those two roamers that we were talking about. But we are going to be seeing Jaeger try and rotate up into bar, and it's just the attackers trying to get as much control as they can. It looks like it's just the intel gathering now, as we're going to be seeing Sledge with his frag grenades, and I believe that is the Habana from below with her stuns, and this is going to be a util dump. Can they dump out that utility? Can they get the frag grenade in? But we're just going to see a little vault come in from Tyrant to try and find something, as that is not successful. Tranquium sees that immediately, but Anarchy and Iski fight right back as they're able to equalize things out, and a lot of action coming, and now dying out just a little bit as the attackers try to get a little bit of a cheeky play going out and caught out immediately by the defenders.
The good old YOLO it through the East Breach, and it looks like Wichita Wolves was not quite prepared for an SMG-11 to be waiting there. They smoked off the angles, but the smoke wasn't actually covering what they wanted to. A small oversight has led to the diffuser to being surrendered on the East Breach, and here comes the pain and destruction. The YOLO is going to be attempting to find some kills. He will be successful temporarily, and eventually now removed. Back to equal man count. The diffuser nowhere near the clutch of the attackers as we hit the red hour. A nitrocell is going to go down range, but that could have been perfect plant denial. It will no longer be used for, but fortunately for 303, they still have smoke grenades on the table. We're all tied up going into the final 2 rounds.
It was a rush play that went terribly. It honestly was. It was a rush play that went terribly, and they were able to clear out Silver on those Raptors, but he was still able to get a pick, and just doing so, I mean, not being able to actively contest those Meister turrets at the end, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Sovereign doing such a good job defending on that red stairs, knowing when to rotate, knowing when to take those gunfights, and did exactly that with Faded being left on such low HP. That is honestly that is the cream of the crop, the creme brulee for a smoke main. When you don't know the guys at low HP, you throw out that smoke grenade and you just see the man die in the round, and you're just like, I did my job. Wonderfully done by Tranquium, and that is the player that stopped the rush to begin with. He opened that up with knowing that those two players are pushing in, peaked with his SMG 12 or SMG 11, got the two very key picks, because if they were able to get in and get any control, that could have easily been executed by Wichita Wolves, because they had that player over in Raptors. They had the two players ready to take out Jaeger, and I believe that was the mute from below. They had that execute ready. It all relied on them getting in sight and getting a pick. And then as soon as that happened, Raptors control could have came in and the round would have been over a lot quicker. Beautifully, beautifully executed by Tranquil.
So we have seen Gym Bedroom be played before in this map, but it was a atypical style of defense. Now it's 303's turn to go over to the tertiary bomb site, and they're going to be bringing out a very typical style of defense, utilizing castle barricades to waste time and utility, and also this big extension over into cash box, opening up the construction wall so you have a nice long line of sight looking into those windows. It's going to be on the attackers to utilize as much of their hard breach as possible, and if it gets impact tricked away, that will slow down the attackers, but impact grenades aren't going out, so already Wichita Wolves looking pretty good so far in the initial execute.
They're looking good indeed, as we're going to be seeing Sovereign go down very quickly. That is really not good for the defense, as they're going to be trying to clear the utility off this wall, because if that thermite goes in, they can get some very, very key control of cash, and that'll make their execute a lot easier as that frag grenade finally finishes up Sovereign, and they are getting this execute down. That long angle is no longer going to be held, and Krill goes down. Really not looking good for 303 right now. I don't know if they know he's down, but Silver's going to try and make this execute, or he's going to be able to try to make this rotate and clean up and possibly pick up his teammate to try and keep things looking towards 303's favor.
So Krill was down but not out while vaulting in through the window, which means he is allowed to actually still go through the window because apparently he's able to defy all laws of physics. And there is the finish off. Krill was brought up but immediately knocked back on down. And the attackers have set up their execute and they're just going for broke as they're bulldozing their way on through. Will the mountain get bigger or will it start to get smaller?
Smaller is what it's looking like as Anarchy denies that finish that Tranquil was trying to go for. Faded gets picked up. It is a 5v1 for Jaeger, all the way stuck in Gym. So many lines of sight for Jaeger to peek from, but so many lines of sight for the attack. As Jaeger finds one, that's going to be Iski down, but the peek comes in and Devil cleans up this round, and we are going to be moving on to match point. 303 is going to need to take something out of the bag because they had this momentum, and it looks like it's shifting towards Wichita Wolves.
Since we're now on match point, that means Wichita Wolves has won this series because they're able to get the most amount of points possible. Now, 303 still could win their map pick. They're going to have to go into this round, winning round 12, and then win over time. So they're not out of the woods yet, but they can't capitalize on the maximum amount of points today. So if you're still a 303 fan, keep your fingers and toes crossed. And fortunately for you, you guys can go back downstairs to basement, a bomb site that you guys are capable of winning.
They are capable indeed, but it is really going to come down to how Wichita Wolves are able to get their execute down. Are they going to be trying to go for that kitchen hatch? Are they going to be trying to get that blue execute? How are 303 going to be playing that player in blue? It's a lot of those questions that are really going to need to be answered, because Wichita Wolves had one very dominant round on here, getting that nice little cheeky plant over in church, beautifully executing it. But then they had another where every single thing that they had tried to get down, Krill getting that initial kill onto the ace and then getting his second kill. I mean, this round could really go up in the air. We've seen both teams play this bomb site well. It's really going to matter. Can the defense finish or open up with a hard breach, or open up with maybe 2 kills? Or is it going to go the other way around? The attacker's going to clean out the key positions, and the round really goes in their favor.
Well, the defense has already started to make their adaptations. They are putting ADSs over towards blue. And members of 303 have been sacrificed to the grenades raining down from the stock hatch. So that adaptation should hopefully keep members of 303 alive for a little bit longer. Now, Wichita Wolves is lethal in utility consumption simulator, and they do have a good amount of flashbangs on their side. They can burn the entire ADS pool with all those flashbangs. But if they start to overthrow those bangs, especially into blue, that means they won't have enough ADS burn over into the church side, which means they're going to have to start to use smoke grenades.
Yeah, and smoke grenades being used for utility burn is not necessarily what you want to see. That's really what you want to do to cut off any peaks in order to get that plant down. But nevertheless, this is going to be starting out. It's looking like it's going to be a blue take, as Jaeger's going to take a little bit of health from that really small angle, not able to contest it. Going to be left at about 35 HP. This can go either way. I mean, honestly, they're going to have to take their time right now to clean out Krill, but I don't know if they know Krill is going to be playing in kitchen. They might be trying to see whether or not he's playing from above, but those lines of sight, or those lines from the vigil, can really really mess you up on where you're trying to get the room clear from.
Hopefully, 303 has studied their homework as well as Wichita Wolves studying what's happening in round number 12. Here comes that utility burn that is going to be one piece of the puzzle being dealt with, but as you're highlighting, has the on-site pressure over towards the main hatch actually been dealt with. And it looks like everybody has retreated back to safer grounds, and that is a lot of impact grenades on the side of the defenders, which basically means the kitchen hatch will most likely never be open, and that also means that this back church wall shouldn't be open if they don't place it on the floor. But all those charges were placed on the floor, which means the church wall will be opened up for freeze, and there goes the Swiss cheese meta.
Swiss cheese meta indeed, as we're going to be seeing the Sledge trying to apply some vertical pressure over into the A bomb or B bomb site, and we're going to be seeing one player go for that little bit of a French push as Devil just finds one. They're going to be getting some success on that Moto hatch drop. We're going to be seeing Vigil try and get one. He can't. Anarchy cleans up one, but that is going to be a trade between the two. Jaeger finds one. Iski pushes in from dirt. His position going to be known. But Iski finds another. Tyrant cleans this up, and we are going to be seeing Wichita Wolves take not only map 1, but map 2, cleaning it up in spectacular fashion. No diffuser going down for Devil, but that is going to be series point.
Great execute once again by Wichita Wolves. They basically forced 303 once again to fight on 3 different fronts this time. In round number 8, they did this exactly the same type of execute, but here in round number 12, they basically just injected that round with G Fuel. They became better, they became more lethal, and it looked absolutely phenomenal. Nobody expected the 3000 IQ from Iski just pushing in through Dirt Tunnel. That level of IGLing is what could lead Wichita Wolves to winning out Season 4 championship, but they still have to kill some big dogs in their way.
Big dogs like In Control Nation and Lycus Empire, 2 very, very strong teams. But Wichita Wolves, between both maps today, we really got to see how their 2 new players that fit into that system. And I think that they are executing so well, that 5-man flex team, and every single player coming alive there. No one player being that kind of that bottom of the leaderboard support player. Everybody finding their frags, everyone playing their positions and playing it absolutely beautifully. I believe we're going to be moving on to an interview now, as we have Cranberry Drip in the call. Cranberry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Wonderful, my friend. It's been so long since we chatted. We're actually joined by the entry fragging coach analyst hybrid monster. So thank you for blessing us with our presence. And speaking of strategy and your work in the background, I know you recently had your head coach depart from your team. So what has that led your team into over the past few weeks?
I mean, like before, I was even like when Slay was here, I was tight with the guys because I've been with them since like September now. So the transition has just been normal, you know, because I have a pretty good relationship with everybody. So, and even, you know, I can kind of take aspects of, you know, being an, you know, analyst in terms of how the game works and all that, and then applying it in a coaching mentality. You know, so it's been fine.
And you also have 2 new entities on this roster. You have Anarchy and Iski. What has their transition been like to the team? Because I know you've been trialing and substituting a lot of players in live matches, but finally looks like you've settled on your team.
Yeah, this is going to be our roster going forward. I almost had to step in today. Iski had something come up. That's why we had to rehost, because he was AFK for like half the round. But yeah, they've Anarchy's been doing well, and then Iski's pretty new, so for him right now, it's just getting him acclimated and getting in a groove with the team. So, but yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about the team going forward. Yeah.
Now, I want to go to round number 3 on Clubhouse. You brought out a curious defense of the tertiary bomb side of Gym. Most teams elect just to hold cash box, but you did a full extension into CCTV. Was that based off a read, or were you just trying out new strats?
We always do that.
Oh, well, okay. Well, prove me wrong there, Mr. Analyst. I see how it is. All right. Well, were you prepared for the fuse pick that they brought out on Calf?
Definitely not. Caught us off guard there, but I don't know. Nobody was like mad about it or anything. We just kind of laughed it off and then adjusted and figured it out for the next time we had to go kitchen. So, yeah.
Perfect. My friend, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Please give a shout out to Wichita Wolves, everybody who deserves it. I know Dylan's always in his watch party, so give everybody who deserves love the love they desire.
Yeah, we got 2 more matches this week, and then we got playoffs for another league. So it's going to be a grind for us, but if you want to see when we are playing, you can go follow the org's Twitter. I believe it's at Wichita Wolves. What is it? GG, that's the end part. No, it's the end part. I know the at, but it's the end part, okay? You can follow at Wichita Wolves GG and then see when we're playing. But,
I'm glad that you get the first part of the Twitter handle right, where every Twitter handle has, the at something other. So I'm glad you got that part. You are an analyst. You've picked up on trends, so I'll give you that one, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Alrighty, my friend.
Shoot out for that one.
I know, Pack Peasant over here. Nonetheless, my friend, always great talking to you. Please go back to your boys. Celebrate your victory. You definitely earned it.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Always a pleasure.
Take care, bud. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us, but please do not go anywhere. We're going to have our analysts step in to break down map number 2, and please stay for that segment because we're going to be transitioning over to RSA so you can give them just as much love. But nonetheless, Keg, Nash, take us away.
Hello! I'm trying something a little bit different here. I'm standing up this time. I learned how to use my legs. But hey, Rigel, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. That game was amazing to watch for sure. I had a great time. What about you, Keg?
Oh, I had a fantastic time. It's crazy, though, because at first, watching this game, I didn't have a good time. It was the same exact thing we had seen on Kafe, and frankly, it's the same exact thing we've seen so many other times from Wichita Wolves. This time around, however, it's been a little bit different. We saw 303 starting to bring things back a little bit. And the 2 rounds I really wanted to show off, or I'm sorry, we wanted to show off, were the ones where 303 started to pick up that speed. And they did such a good job for at least a little while, but then it seems like Wichita Wolves adapted again. And we say this time and time again, Rigel, it's all about adaptability. But this time, at least 303 put up a fight.
Yeah, 303 I think did such a better job here on this map. They were getting their frags. They weren't being too over aggressive, which was their downfall, especially in the first couple rounds of Kafe. And even on their attack, they were able to, figure out sort of what Wichita Wolves were trying to do on a couple of their defenses, which was what propelled them into the 4-2 split, which got them so close in the first place. Because if they would have lost those 2 attack rounds, it would have been all over very quickly, because Wichita Wolves on their attack as well did a very phenomenal job there. But I got to hand it to 303. They picked it up today. All their players were waking up on map number 2.
I kind of feel a little bit bad. A little bit behind the scenes info for SCS. We get to choose which 2 rounds we want to show off, and I kind of figured, well, this is going to be kind of the same exact ordeal again, so we chose some early rounds to show on the screen here, but no, after we chose these rounds, 303 picked it up. And so again, it's about a story of an almost comeback. 303 did such a good job doing so in the latter half of the game, but the rounds that you see here, these are where they began to pick up that speed once again, but it was those later games that I think were the real meat. You can blame it on me. It's okay, Rigel. We got to see only the crust, but you go back to the VOD, you can see all the huge cruxes.
Well, that's awesome to actually point out, too, that we do have the YouTube channel now. And it's been a thing for this whole season, and we upload every single VOD. So if you want to go back and watch these rounds, definitely do that. We'd be happy to see you guys with your own input, even on Twitter. If you want to analyze the rounds yourself, feel free. But yeah, I think even though you chose these early rounds, I still enjoy seeing these early rounds because it was right before 303 made those changes, and I'm just happy that we saw all 12 rounds in this map, because if it would have been another 7-1 situation, it still would have been a good fight from 303, but it wouldn't have had the same, I don't want to say nostalgia, that's the wrong word, but the same amount of hype as this one did.
It's like deja vu. We've been in this
Exactly.
place before.
Oh no. Oh my god. That's like, what is that? How old is the meme now? Like 3 years? The deja vu.
No, it's longer than that.
Is it?
I think
Okay,
so.
man. I'm just old.
I
I
don't
don't know.
Talking about it though is giving me a little bit of deja vu though.
Honestly, I mean, just watching late night 3 a.m. YouTube. And say, oh god, Keg, your camera. Oh.
This is what happens when I talk about it. No, but that's okay. We can forget about Cthulhuism and all that fun stuff. But overall, 303 did a good job at the second half of the second map, but it was too little too late. They should have done so throughout every other part of this last matchup. But that's okay. The season still continues on into January. 303 still have a chance to at least get a few more games in before Season 4 wraps up. Wichita Wolves, well, you heard from the interview, you heard from Cranberry Drip himself. They're going to be on heaters this week. They have so many games to play, so many different leagues. And you know what, Rigel? I'm
you're back.
So
Okay, that was quick.
little time as well. Luckily,
Right.
though, they've done so well on this last game. Maybe we can just see them continuing to get better and better, more and more of a well-oiled machine going forwards this week. But that's just about all we have for the analyst segment. I think 303
Definitely.
did a good job, and hopefully they can pick up the speed like they did in the latter half going forwards.
Well, Keg, yeah, I appreciate all your insight, man. It was amazing having you on the analyst desk. I think this is your first time on the analyst desk, but you killed it as per usual. I swear you are a god at being on any desk environment. So appreciate you for sure. Appreciate everyone on the SCS staff team. We are going to be here all week for you guys. So be back tomorrow. We've got Emergence versus Wichita Wolves. But don't go anywhere just yet. We're going to be rating the RSA Twitch channel.
Ooh.
So they are live right now, so we're going to be hitting them up and sharing the love. They've been an amazing partner to us for the whole entirety of T3. Hi, Crow. Hi, Lynx. All of you guys from over there. It's been fantastic. But with that being said, guys, my name is Rigel. For Keg, for everyone here at SCS, we're going to send it on out. We'll see you guys.
Follow everyone on Twitter.
Yes, do that.